Ladies and gentlemen, today is June the 24th, 2024, and we are here to talk about the world, current events, foreign policy, economics, you name it, we'll talk about it in World Discussion with Agent Smith.
Hello.
Yo.
Hey. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. I got $100 for playing my viola.
I saw that.
Yeah. I was feeling like kind of mid about my performance, and then you get that and you feel like a boss. You're like, wow, it wasn't that bad. Okay. I hit most of the notes, but compared to how I've been able to play those songs in the past, I'm missing way more than I used to. So it's like, you know, you can do better, so it kind of hurts to show other people, but you have to overcome that. And that's one of my personal battles that I want to get better at, is expressing my artistic sides that are not best in the world. They don't need to be excellent, because if you only try stuff when you're excellent at it, you won't try most things.
Yeah.
Because stuff is hard.
Point.
Yeah. Oh, and Chad is confused. It's Monday. Normally we host this on Sundays. So we moved it. This is not a replay. This is real. They're skeptical. And it's good to be skeptical. Be skeptical of all of our talks as well, because we do mess up some things. Keep us accountable. So what's been going on this week? We've been subathoning, so I've been doing a bunch of different games. It's interesting to see your play style for Baldur's Gate. Just a video game real quick. The run I did with Trisha, one of the first things that she pointed out wanting to do was not kill during combat encounters, so how to turn on non-lethal. I didn't even think of doing that. So in all of my Baldur's Gate runs, I'm a very murderous person who usually ends up murdering every person who is involved in the conflict. Whereas in a lot of real life fights in history and stuff, many people flee battle and escape somehow. And it's not just like the losing side loses every single person. Like, that's pretty rare. But in a Baldur's Gate fight, because of the way that the combat system works, you oftentimes kill 12 out of 12 people who are there, just for your own safety. But when you turn on the non-lethal, you could KO a whole bunch of them and maybe save a few people, and that would relatively make you a less murderous player. Wasn't even thinking about that when I've been playing before. But I think you pointed out non-lethaling someone. I think it was Minthara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be done. It's just hard because it basically rules out ranged attacks.
Yeah. And a lot of powerful spells that you could use to bring them down would potentially kill them. So you have to play more carefully. It takes a more delicate approach where you're trying to send violence at them, but not too much violence as to completely destroy them. That means that you must need to overpower them some way. Like, you have to be more powerful than the enemy by a lot to also be nice while you win. And that, I think, kind of points to one of the big problems with governing, right? Is like, how do you protect your population? How do you engage in war well? When war inherently involves violence and death and murder, how do you minimize the evil in that process of needing to physically overcome your adversary?
Yeah, trying to balance human rights with the prerogatives of war is kind of a long-running issue in military history.
Mm-hmm.
It's rarely been a balance that has been struck to everybody's satisfaction. Certainly events in Palestine right now illustrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Israel does try, quote unquote, try to minimize civilian casualties, but at the same time, you know, those rules of engagement can be tightened or relaxed depending on circumstances.
Yeah, well, because they're the one with the power monopoly, they are the ones who get to exercise discretion of when they abide that and when they don't.
Yeah. And when you loosen them, when you loosen them enough, you can reach a threshold whereupon, even though you are still technically taking steps to minimize civilian casualties, the civilian death toll is maybe not that different than it would be if you were not taking those steps.
Mm-hmm.
So given how much rules of engagement have been loosened since last October, we may be somewhere near that threshold now. And I don't think anybody who really wants to prioritize civilian well-being in wars really sees that status quo as being acceptable. So hence all of the criticism,
Yeah.
of which there's been quite a bit. I enjoy this segment so much that I'm missing out on what is probably going to be one of the great hockey games of our era.
Oh, yeah. My dad said he was excited to watch that. And we had someone in Twitch chat. I don't know if Dabulus is here today, but he arrived after the match that brought him into Game 6 or whatever, or Game 7. I think it's Game 7 coming up tonight. And it's always good in any sport when you get to the 7th in a best of 7. That means the two opponents were pretty evenly matched. You have a lot of really lopsided best of 7s. If one team is clearly better than the other, it'll be 4-0 or 4-1 or something really brutal, which isn't really as sporting and exciting to watch because there's no suspense. You're like, yeah, well, they're just gonna go kill him now. It's like a really easy matchup, but they're in game heckin' 7.
Yeah, they came back from, what was it? 3 games to nothing. Won 3 straight. Pretty wild.
Nice. So it's a reverse sweep, maybe.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
We watched a reverse sweep in StarCraft 2 history. It's a best of 7 between Soulkey and Innovation, and they're 2 Korean pros, and they were playing in the Code S finals, which is like probably the hardest tournament of theirs to win in. And Innovation, the Terran player, started out with the 3-0 lead, and he was just bullying him and running him over. It was a really tough matchup for Soulkey, and it was looking like there wasn't really too much he could do. And then he started in game 4 playing really aggressive and risky, and it was paying off. Like, the other guy was playing too dangerous and he wasn't respecting the level of aggression, so Soulkey ended up getting a foothold with some aggressive games, and then as the series progressed, he built more confidence and was able to play some macro games as well and take more of the map and play more patient and just kind of outplay him when everyone thought that Innovation was a way stronger player in better form at the time. So that's a really good StarCraft series in reverse sweep that is good for me to even rewatch, just to see that fighting spirit of someone who is the underdog, who is looking like shit in the series so far, and he just keeps trying stuff, and then once you get even just one win, the momentum can shift a lot in your favor because the player who is better suddenly starts to doubt. They're like, shit, are we actually better? Like, what? Or they make excuses, and that makes you in an even weaker mindset where you don't respect the other team as a threat. So pretty cool to be in Game 7. Good for hockey people. And thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, no problem. No, it's my pleasure. It's always fun to talk shop.
Hell yeah. Well, this used to be a tradition that was basically an every day or every few days when we lived with Kukio, where it was just like what we did to shoot the shit in the evening after he's done his work and stuff, and if I'm breaking from streaming, we can just talk about what's going on now or just random stuff that any of us watched or learned recently. It was a really nice, consistent knowledge exchange. I got to share some of my brain science stuff because I was in that degree, and then you had your areas where you shared with us, and then Kukio knew way more than us about pretty much anything tech oriented, like anything computer or phone or like internet connection related and stuff, encryption related. He knew about like privacy and security. So whatever that stat is, that stat was his stat where he led by a lot. And also being able to work on vehicles. He probably knew the most about how engines worked and stuff like that, because he really wanted to learn how engines and systems and different objects that were built, how they were built. A lot of people just don't really care. They're like, whatever, as long as I can use it, I don't really care how it works. Whereas it would make him curious and want to investigate it, which I always thought was really cool. Kind of a rare energy to have, because it takes a lot of mental work to figure out how something works on a deeper level and be able to explain that.
Yeah. Yeah, he always kind of had a tinkerer's mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always loved learning from him.
Yep.
He always had a lot to say about that stuff. Well, was there anything in particular you wanted to get to?
I don't think I've really heard of anything recently that has been standing out, but I have also been in streamer jail consistently for the past like 24 days. So
That's right.
yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah, it's great. Like the further we go, the more successful it is. So it's been very successful. I feel very proud for the enthusiasm and the excitement from everybody. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey. I do so many different stuff that I wouldn't have done otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really cool thing. There's just more time in the day for me to stream when I'm doing one of these as well, because I do take a lot of personal time just on a regular non-subathon working day where I'm spending time with my girlfriend. Like we're just talking about stuff and catching up, or we're going on dates. So a lot of my outside time is sacrificed during the subathon, but that's something that gives us a lot of like safety and security, obviously, because if I'm doing well, then we're doing well. So there are big plus sides, and she's been really supportive, but it's definitely a lot of work every day. I'm in front of the camera all but about 10 hours of a day, so it's probably about 14 hours in front of the camera, and then 10 hours I'm either sleeping or taking a break for food or to check in with Trisha for a bit. So it's a really cool challenge, but it also means I also don't check the news myself. I have no idea what's going on. What's happening in the world, chat?
Fair enough.
Julian Assange accepted a plea deal. Oh, with the U.S.?
Oh, that's like a news story from a couple hours ago.
Oh, breaking news. Okay.
Yeah, they cut some kind of deal with him. So he's basically pled guilty to the espionage charge. They're going to count some of the time that he's been, they're going to count all of the time that he's been held as time served. So he's not actually going to serve any prison time. Mm-hmm. So he's going to go back to Australia pretty soon, and his whole ordeal will finally be over.
He could be a regular citizen again and walk normally?
Yeah. I mean, he was never an American citizen. He was always an Australian citizen.
Yeah, I just know that he couldn't step into a lot of countries because the U.S. would go at him.
Yeah.
So Australia is a close American ally. If you're in a ally of America country, you're going to be careful. He was like holed up in an embassy for a long time. It was like the Ecuadorian embassy or something.
It was the Ecuadorian embassy in the United Kingdom.
Oh, yeah. It was in England. That makes sense.
Yeah, the Swedes extradited him to the UK. And then after the British charged him, he fled to the Ecuadorian embassy and sought asylum. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't get him out. And so he was just stuck there for something like 7 years. Something like that. I don't remember the exact time frame. But he was there for a number of years. And then eventually the British just forced their way into the embassy and arrested him. And then he's been trying to fight extradition to the United States ever since. And he's been doing that now for the past several years. So now it's finally done. You can finally go home.
So the plea deal he has, is that with the Australian government or the U.S.
U.S. government? The U.S. government brought the charges and was seeking his extradition.
Okay. Are there any details of that on like restrictions that he has about visiting the U.S.? Is he not allowed to do anything now?
I didn't read anything to that effect in the article, but again, it's breaking news, so we don't know all the details yet. I don't think he'd want to come to the United States anyway. He's been avoiding it like the plague for a very long time. So I don't imagine he's going to be that keen.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, like, did we punish him in some way for what he did, or was it kind of like you got punished enough already, you can go now? Oh
yeah, that's the thing. Like he's been held in jail by the British during this whole extradition shenanigans.
Okay.
And he's been there for I think around 4 or 5 years. So they're basically saying, okay, that's basically 4 or 5 years in prison. So we're going to count that. Towards the guilty plea and charge. rather, we're going to count that towards the sentence for pleading guilty. And so he's going to walk. Because he's basically already served the time he would have gotten.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. It was just for leaking documents and stuff?
Not leaking documents. He wasn't the leaker. He was just the guy who ran WikiLeaks, who allegedly was, quote unquote, seeking classified materials. And so apparently that's what they got him on. I'm still not entirely sure how the U.S. can charge him for that, given that he's a foreign national, but apparently they can. You'd have to ask somebody more familiar with the legal aspect of the espionage law in question to get some clarification there.
Yeah, I kind of got the vibe that, in a sense, he was a stick-it-to-the-man kind of character. I don't really know too much about him personally, but freedom of information is something that was a cool thing to fight for. And people's access to information, you can kind of see why someone would want to champion that and be about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when WikiLeaks was a big deal. It was definitely in the headlines for a while.
Yeah.
But you don't really hear about it much anymore.
No, I think it's because for a while they were finding stuff that was pretty juicy and could hurt people and stuff, so they, in a sense, had a decent bit of power where they could basically give a platform to people who could find this saucy information that was important to people in some way that was heavily classified, and they thought it should be out. So kind of like a whistleblowing sanctuary in a sense, if you're giving the people the benefit of the doubt that it's not just we're trying to sabotage this, it's just we're trying to get the word out.
Yeah I kind of filled that role for a while, but eventually it ended up targeted by espionage agencies. So, if you can steal something, record something or whatever from the U.S., or if the U.S. can steal it from you, then they can just post it on WikiLeaks and pretend it was a quote-unquote leak instead of something that they're deliberately releasing to do some kind of damage to the targeted government.
Yeah, true. This will make our fake stuff look way more real if we just post it here.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for him. He should be back in Australia before too long.
Cool.
I don't know what he'll do going forward.
Australians in the chat, do you like him or think he's cool? Do you have an opinion? Do you care? Is it relevant to these Australian? We do have quite a few Australian viewers.
Maybe he'll write a book about cats. He got in trouble with the Ecuadorian embassy over the cats he was trying to keep in the embassy.
How many?
Wasn't too many. The problem was that he wasn't really cleaning up after them.
Oh.
And so that got to be a problem. So then they took his cats away, and then he complained about it.
They're like, sir, you were being gross.
Yeah, he's had a strange life. But I don't think it'll have a big impact on anything. WikiLeaks is still there, but it's not like the force it used to be. And I don't think Julian Assange really has much he can add to that. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that is my impression right now. Well, there was other stuff going on. There was Putin went to North Korea. So that had people buzzing. There's a couple things going on in Israel, nothing too dramatic though. And I think one other thing. Oh, elections in the UK. That's going to be entertaining. Had you heard about the elections coming up in the UK?
Not much. What's going on?
Well, Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of the UK, called new elections, and all of the polling and projections say that the Tories, Britain's main Conservative party, are just going to get obliterated. Like, it's not clear if they're going to have anything more than a handful of seats in parliament after this, because they're just so unpopular now. It's probably going to go... most likely Labour will win. That's the expectation. And then there's a sort of alternative third party. I think it's called National Reform Party. It's being led by Nigel Farage, of course. They'll probably pick up most of the Conservative vote, the way it's looking right now. Although I did read in The Economist, it's not entirely impossible that the Liberal Democrats could end up winning more seats and becoming the main opposition party. As weird as that would be. They've kind of been what we in the US would call a third party as well. Just kind of one of those marginal parties that's always there, but never really seems to win enough to really matter too much.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It's definitely going to be dramatic if the polling is anywhere near accurate. And Rishi Sunak has not been helping the cause. There's been some own goals there. Well, there was the World War II Normandy Memorial a couple weeks ago. So, there's like an annual D-Day memorial, and so Western leaders go to that. And, you go, you talk to the veterans, and you do the ceremonies, and then you leave. But Rishi Sunak only talked to the British veterans, and then he left early. And that had a lot of people upset, especially the older folks in the UK, because that's still like really, really important to them. So we got in a bunch of trouble over that. And then he made an announcement about national service. So, the Conservatives are kind of grasping at straws at this point in the UK because they don't really have a strong platform. And so they're kind of just throwing out random shit at this point, just trying to see what sticks. And so one of the things they announced is that they want to try to implement national service, basically mandatory military or some kind of alternative service for people when they turn 18. And, that's fairly popular with, again, older voters in the UK, but definitely not popular with the younger voters. Mandatory service is pretty much never popular with younger folks, unsurprisingly, for obvious reasons. And it was especially goofy because there had been a study, I should say, done in the government months before that had concluded that it wasn't really viable, for a variety of reasons. But Sunak just kind of went out and proposed it anyway, just to kind of try to pander to the older vote.
Who are they going to fight? Who's Britain in a fight with?
Take your pick. I guess Russia would be top of the list as far as potential suspects. But, I don't know. Argentina? Another war over the Falklands? War in the Middle East? There's always something going on somewhere.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's really about preparing for war. I think it's just more about trying to instill a sense of patriotism and national identity. Because national identity is one of those issues that definitely is of concern for people on the right in particular, but also among older folks generally. And one of the ways you can try to build that national identity is with a national service where everybody in the country kind of comes together and goes through a common experience and meets other people from across the country from all different walks of life. Getting to do that is one of the ways that wars throughout history have helped nations forge national identities. One of the results of the American Civil War was that veterans got a renewed sense of national identity from the conflict. Because before, they kind of knew that they were in a country with other people in other states, other parts of the country, but they were so far away, since the United States is such a big country, that they didn't really know much about them. And so the connection was kind of skin deep. It was a little bit superficial. But going through the war, going through that common experience with people from different regions really helped forge a national identity that had previously been a little bit shaky. And so coming out of the Civil War and the decades afterwards, there was a much stronger sense of patriotism in the country and a much less regionalism. So, some kind of common struggle can do that, and national service is not a common struggle, but it's kind of the next best thing. if that is what you're going for. But national service without a war isn't really the same thing. Because again, national service is unpopular pretty much always throughout history, regardless of circumstances. And people only put up with it if there's some kind of emergency that can justify it. Mm-hmm. But the United Kingdom right now is not undergoing an emergency, really.
Well, the countries that I know of for people kind of in our sphere of internet people is the Finns and the South Koreans and Israelis. And I think all of those countries have a spooky next door neighbor, or that's basically it.
Yeah, that's the thing. They all have a reason, basically. Most countries that are not on the border with, Russia, North Korea, what have you, most of them over the course of the post-Cold War period, let's say, from the 90s into the aughts, actually moved away from national service. Because obviously during the Cold War, pretty much everybody had some degree of national service, with the exception of the UK and the US, mostly. And after the Cold War, though, everybody kind of wanted to save the money, and also getting rid of it was politically popular. And so most militaries transitioned to varying degrees into all volunteer services. But there's been some reversal of that in the past 5 to 10 years. As tensions with Russia have gotten worse, more and more countries have started, specifically I'm talking about Europe here, more and more European countries have started reintroducing national service. I think Denmark was one of the most recent ones. I'm pretty sure I remember reading that they were about to do it. But the UK, I don't think, really needs to. I mean, there's a decent argument to be made that it's necessary because tensions are getting worse and because the UK needs to be able to meet its obligations under NATO. But again, that's debatable, and regardless of the military necessity, the political sentiment is going to be very against, because I don't think most people in the UK feel insufficient danger to feel that national service would be justified at this point. And again, the government is not, as far as I know, trying to justify it in terms of national emergency or in terms of international tensions. From what I've seen, they've thus far justified it mostly just in terms of national identity. So that's very much going to be swimming upstream as far as trying to get that to work, to get that to be popular. I don't think it's going to happen. So most likely it's just going to bleed them votes from broad swaths of the electorate that don't really feel particularly inclined to put their lives on the line if they do end up in the military for the sake of an establishment that they don't really feel has all that much legitimacy anymore.
When was the last time that the UK had mandatory conscription?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I want to say sometime probably in the 50s. Somebody from Britain would know much better than I would. I know they had it during World War II, obviously, and I think they kept it for a while after that. But I imagine they would have transitioned back not too much longer afterwards, because they were really desperate to cut expenses after World War II. And I imagine a conscript army would have been near the top of the list. Yeah, I'll throw out the usual disclaimer now, since this is an opportune time. I'm not an expert in everything I talk about on here. More painfully obvious at some times than others. So if I ever say anything wrong, stupid, or biased, please do let me know. If I'm wrong, I want to know more than anybody. So participation by chat is encouraged in that regard. I don't read chat while we do this, because I can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, but I do read it eventually. I will see the feedback. So, please do pipe up if I'm running my mouth and talking out of my ass. Do let me know. But yeah, the real answer to that question is I don't know.
Okay, but it basically means that the old people now can act like the young people should toughen up and do conscription because they didn't have to do it. So that's what I wanted to check, basically.
Yeah, I've seen some complaints to that effect on online amongst comments. Mm-hmm. So there are definitely people who share that sentiment.
Yeah, if the English boomers didn't have to do military conscription, why are you making the Zoomers do it? That's kind of weird. And who are they going to fight? I feel like the vote for that would pass way more likely if there was a clear adversary where you needed to take like ground unit trades. Because currently Britain's like got a whole bunch of countries between them and any enemy they have.
Yeah. Well, let me point out that the national service option, well, I should say the national service that's proposed would involve not only military service, but would actually give you the option of doing non-military service instead.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think that's the case. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that there would be a non-military option there for those who did not want to serve in the military. Yeah, Israel actually does that.
That's
for
good.
those who are conscientious objectors. So you still have to do some kind of service, but it'll be in like a non-violent, non-lethal capacity. You know, maybe in the healthcare sector or doing volunteer work, or, well, I guess it's not volunteer work if it's mandatory, but you know, that type of work that volunteers would normally do, like cleaning up the neighborhood or whatever, stuff like that. You know, that kind of thing is a viable alternative.
You can be a Coast Guard instead.
I wanted to ask you, I meant to ask you earlier, I didn't see a follow-up to the Sunday stream, so what happened? Like, did Baldur's Gate 3 just murder your girlfriend's computer?
Oh, yeah. It froze one time, like her whole PC froze, and then another time it blue screened, and then it blue screened a third time, and it also crashed about 6 other times between all those things.
Yeah.
So it was very rocky, and I don't know why. We got hopefully enough hard drive space. One of the hard drives is pretty full, so that could potentially be related to some of the issues. But her computer's stats are better than mine. Like, she can usually run more intensive stuff than I can, so unsure of what was causing that. That was
What's her GPU?
I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I need to update my processor because my frame rate once I get to Act 3 in Baldur's Gate is kind of slow.
That's true for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to matter if you update it. That's just
Okay.
a universal experience.
Okay. The
There's
Act
just
3
too
lag,
many
it's-
people.
It's part of the
There's too many
story.
people. Yeah. I was going to say that NVIDIA is the benchmark, right? So if she's running something other than that, that could be the issue.
But yeah, it was cool. We switched to non-lethal attacks pretty much in the first fight after we got off the Nautiloid. So I'm curious to see how you can navigate that sort of ethical adventuring, trying not to kill everything in your path. I've killed a lot of people in that game.
Well, haven't we all?
Yep.
Oh, we talked about gold last time. Zimbabwe's new currency, which is gold backed. Yeah, I said it was probably not going to work. And so I went and kind of did a little bit of background reading, and it's looking like, it's early days yet, but it's looking like I'm probably right. Because the black market is not trading at anywhere near the government's official rate. Like trade, what I have the note written here. So the black market is charging a premium of 65% over and above the official rate to obtain dollars.
Sorry, what does that mean then? It's less trustworthy of a backing?
Well, basically, the government wants people to trade it at the official rate. That's the rate that the central bank and banks are officially allowed to exchange currency, exchange the Zimbabwe currency for dollars. But it's not just banks that can exchange currency, right? You can find other people, basically just people on the street will do it. There are actually just merchants on the street who specialize in changing currency, and you can actually get dollars from them. And the rate that they charge is not bound by law. Technically it's illegal. It's actually just, again, black market activity. And so the market that they charge is actually generally closer to the international market rate than whatever, bullshit fake rate that the government is trying to charge to require people to trade currency at. And generally, when you want an idea of what the actual value of a currency is, you look more at the black market rate. Because again, the rate there is not legislated. It more reflects the actual confidence that economic actors have in the currency. And again, as we can see, by the black market rate in Zimbabwe, there's not a lot of confidence in the new currency. 65% is not too bad overall, but I suspect over time it's going to get worse if the government screws it up like they usually do. Yeah, I was reading that this is the fourth attempt by Zimbabwe's government to introduce a new local currency within the past 10 years.
They're just trying out all the different currency methods.
Yeah, they had introduced one recently, I think last year, called the Zim dollar. And since the start of last year, it has lost 70% of its value.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that wasn't working. So they switched over to the gold-backed currency approach. Which, I'll reiterate what I said last time. Having a gold-backed currency is totally viable. Like, you can do that. And if you're having trouble, maintaining a stable currency, gold-backed is not a bad way to go. But again, it's entirely dependent on your ability to convince markets that you're serious about it and that you're actually going to maintain it. And there's just so little confidence in Zimbabwe and its government to manage that, that it's almost certainly not going to work. And I don't have any doubt that the Zimbabwe government is going to prove those doubters correct. Because every time they do this, they invariably end up spending too much money and breaking the peg. So I imagine that's going to be the plan here.
Well, best of luck to them. Hope they figure out their money problem.
They won't. They're so not. The reason I say that is not because I think they can't. The reason I say that is because I think they don't want to. Because if you're the Zimbabwe government, the fact that Zimbabwe has just a total clusterfuck of a currency situation is not a problem for you. It's a problem for the people. But the people don't really matter in an authoritarian government, and that's what Zimbabwe has. So long as they're comfortable, as the people on top are comfortable, they can totally manage this. And most likely they actually benefit indirectly from having a totally dysfunctional economy. You can see that in Venezuela, right? Venezuela's economy has been dysfunctional for a long time, although, side note, it has been getting better over the past couple of years. But one of the things that happened after their economy collapsed is that government officials actually engaged in significant corruption, as a part of which they just preyed on the inefficiencies in the system. So, for example, Venezuela has had, anyway, fixed prices. And so you would think then that the government would really crack down on people who were smuggling goods that were being sold at state-enforced prices in Venezuela and smuggling them out to places like Colombia and other neighboring countries where they could sell them at a profit at much higher market rates. But they didn't do that. In fact, not only did they not do that, it was actually corrupt government officials, even at very high levels, who directly engaged in that trade, who directly benefited financially from doing that. So they created shortages by implementing fixed prices, and then the same government that did that started breaking the rules in order to arbitrage and profit from the arbitrage of those fixed price goods to other countries. So that's the kind of incentive that governments that are very corrupt and dysfunctional have. Like, they don't have the incentive to stop what's making them money. And if what's making them money is overseeing a broken economy, then they'll totally just keep doing that. And that's basically what the Zimbabwean government has been doing. Because things have gotten worse, it's easier for them to confiscate land, to redistribute it, to seize assets, just to engage in just mass endemic corruption. And it's no problem for them to break rules regarding, exchange rates, fixed exchange rates, and capital controls that are designed to try to keep money in the country. Like, they control all that anyway. So if they want to cheat and just take dollars and spend them on whatever they want, they can do that. Getting dollars is easy for them because they can get it at subsidized prices, right? They can just have the central bank print money and then exchange that for dollars being held at the country's central bank. And then they can use that to import stuff at much lower prices than the regular people can, who have to try to buy that stuff that is imported from abroad at an exchange rate that is very, very disfavorable to them. So that's why I think they're going to screw this up, right? The government pretends to try to deal with the problem, but really these are just quick fixes that are designed to act as short-term subsidies to the elites. Most likely they're not actually going to stick to this plan over the long run, such that it actually benefits the broader part of the public, because the broader part of the public does not matter to the government.
Mm-hmm. True. It's the people who have value at stake, and they want to increase their value. Makes sense.
Did we talk about mass protests in South America at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, there's been a little bit of that. Nothing too big, nothing earth-shattering, but there were mass protests in Brazil over a proposed abortion law. It was a little weird to me because as I understand it, left-wing parties have a majority in the legislature. If anybody from Brazil knows better, let me know. So I don't think this is going to pass, because I should say the abortion law is a proposed law that was introduced by conservative legislators. So I don't think there's any real chance of it passing, but people definitely got very excited about it. So there were big protests in Brazil over it. And then there were mass protests in Argentina over an omnibus bill that was passed by the Senate. So they have the same kind of system we do. The House passes a bill, the Senate passes their version of the bill, and then they have to reconcile them, right? So the House has already passed a bill. Now the Senate has passed theirs. Now it's going to go back to the House, and they're going to try to hash something out. So it's not really all that close to being passed yet, although it is on its way. But the fact that it's being considered at all is very upsetting to many, many people in Argentina, including Dagnip, our resident repeat Argentina viewer. I hope he's doing okay. It's got a lot of what you would call laissez-faire policy in it. Lots of government cuts. It's going to loosen up capital controls. It's also going to give the president sweeping powers. He can basically take what are effectively emergency powers for, I think, about a year when he wants. And he wants to. Who wouldn't? Mm-hmm. I'd love to have emergency powers over hundreds of millions of people here in the United States, but alas, can't happen. But in Argentina, it's about to happen. So I imagine Milei is going to use those powers to try to enact a whole litany of further economic reforms that will thereafter not require the consent of Congress. So a lot of changes pending if the bill does eventually pass. And again, I think it's projected that it will. I have an email to Dagnip in which I was asking him if it's projected to pass and eventually actually be implemented, but he hasn't gotten back to me. So we'll see. He's my main Argentine contact.
Nice.
I try to do my own research because I don't want to bother him with a bunch of questions, but there's just not a lot of news and analysis for Argentina in English language media. So I find it a little difficult.
Yeah, and that's a good time for the usual encouragement. If you are from a country that we talk about and you know stuff that we don't, feel free to share. We like to learn stuff too, and both of us only speak English, so we can't browse stuff in other languages. There's likely a lot of stuff out there to browse.
Let's see, we have that. Oh, as a side note here, there's going to be elections in Moldova in October. And that's something to keep an eye on because there's been a lot of interference in Moldova's politics for a long time, especially by Russia. But of course, with the conflict in Ukraine going, there's a bigger incentive than ever to try to create some kind of drama there. And the West in particular has a vested interest, given that the government in Moldova right now is pro-Western and is not oriented towards Russia. So there is potential for fireworks there. It's going to be a while, but certainly around September, October this year. In addition to all the drama about the U.S. election, there's probably going to be drama in Europe with regard to Moldova's election. I don't know to what extent it will be, but it will probably be in the news at least a little bit. Possibly a lot. Depending on how bad things get.
Moldova in the news. All One just gifted 10 subs. The subathon goes on. Thanks for cheering us on during World Discussion with Agent Smith. Weird Monday episode. I know a lot of people are checking their watches. They're like, what is happening? Am I on drugs? No, we're doing one on a Monday. I know it's weird. But you might be on drugs. I don't know what you're doing. So stay safe. Try your best. Welcome. Thank you, All One.
Oh, Panthers ahead by 1. Going into the third.
It's the Panthers versus Oilers?
Yes, sir. It's going to be wild if the Panthers win after blowing 3 games in a row. What else did we have here? Oh, yeah, we wanted to get to the Putin trip.
Oh, yeah, he went to North Korea, you said?
Yeah. Let's see. So, I mean, not a whole lot has changed in that regard. You know, Russia's relationship with North Korea over the past couple decades has been pretty limited. You know, Russia is not really all that much more comfortable with having North Korea be nuclear armed than anybody else is. In fact, Russia's probably more concerned about it because it's right on their border. Mm-hmm. And yes, technically, Russia does have a border with North Korea, albeit a slim one. But yeah, small, weird Stalinist states with nuclear weapons does not, like, excite anybody, unless you're a Stalinist. So the fact that Russia is trying to engage them more does... I don't want to say it shows desperation. I don't know how desperate the Russians can really be said to be at this point. But it does show that there is kind of a thaw in relations there, that the Russians are willing to tolerate the North Korean government to a greater degree than they had been. Because keep in mind, Russia had been an enthusiastic, well, maybe not an enthusiastic, but they had been a responsible enforcer of international sanctions against North Korea. Maybe to varying degrees, maybe not as much as the West would like, but they were doing it. But now that seems to be that line seems to be softening. I think we talked before about how in 2023, Russia cut a deal with the North Korean government to import something like 1 million artillery shells from North Korea. And so as part of that deal, the Russian government probably agreed to help the North Koreans develop their rockets, although it's not entirely clear. Of course, they're not transparent about that. But from what I've read, the best guess in the analytical community is that Russia has been helping the North Koreans develop their the rockets that they use to launch satellites. And the Russians say that it's purely a civilian thing, in so much they admit it's happening at all anyway. But of course, you know, if you're developing rockets to do one thing, you can use those same rockets to do something else. And the concern is that the rockets being developed as part of this joint Russian-North Korean venture can be adapted as ICBMs, you know, as long-range nuclear-tipped rockets that can be used to hit targets abroad. You know, for Washington, they're most concerned about the United States, but, you know, it's kind of a concern for everybody in the region. Mm-hmm. So that was the concern. So in the recent meeting, the main thing that happened, well, there were a couple things that happened. One was a mutual assistance clause. So technically, they have promised to come to each other's aid if one of them comes under attack. That's a little bit ambiguous. Nobody's really sure entirely what that means. You know, so that could mean that they're going to help each other now. If that's the case, it could have a dramatic impact, because that hypothetically could mean North Korean troops being deployed to Ukraine to fight on behalf of the Russians. And of course, North Korea has a decent-sized army, so that could make a difference there. But at the same time, that would open the door to some kind of retaliation against North Korea from the West, and I don't know how much Pyongyang is really willing to risk that. And in any case, I don't know if either state, either Moscow or Pyongyang, is actually interested in doing that, regardless of Western reaction. I imagine North Korea would rather keep most of their forces in North Korea just in case, not only in case of conflict with South Korea or the West, but also in case of some kind of internal turbulence. I think we've talked before about how the most likely avenue to a collapse of North Korea's government is intra-elite competition from within the North Korean government. So, the more troops that you have in North Korea, the more power you, as the standing elite, have to try to suppress any potential rebellion from that area. So some of the worrying about North Korean troops in Ukraine is a little bit overwrought, in my opinion, given what I've read, but at the same time, it can't really be entirely ruled out. So that's something to keep an eye on for the next couple months. Another way to interpret the mutual assistance clause is that it's just a way to try to deter aggression from the West. So the signal could be here that if the West does significantly escalate its involvement in Ukraine, that there could be a corresponding retaliation from the North Korean government in the Korean Peninsula. And that could, of course, redirect resources, assets, attention, just everything away from Ukraine towards the Korean Peninsula, which would be to Ukraine's detriment. A third interpretation I've heard here, and maybe this is the best one, is that this is actually more of a signal. This is more of a signal to South Korea, because the South Korean government has the capacity to send and or sell more military supplies to Ukraine, but has somewhat forestalled on doing so. They actually do send quite a bit. They just do it kind of vicariously through other Eastern European states. But hypothetically, they could send and sell more. And so this could be a signal to try to intimidate them into not doing that. But at the same time, the South Korean government has noted that part of these arrangements involves Russia helping North Korea with its military capabilities, again, mostly its rockets. And that definitely has them on edge. And the South Korean government actually responded to Putin's meeting with Kim Jong-un by announcing that they were going to consider greater sales to Ukraine if Russia did deepen its involvement and assistance to North Korea. And that led Putin, of course, to issue a catty response on social media saying that if South Korea did that, then Russia would have to retaliate, and that it would be a move that South Korea would regret if they did this. So, the usual, posturing, back and forth and whatnot. But it seems that South Korea could conceivably be the main target here, since South Korea does have some unused industrial capacity that could be going towards Ukraine, but which right now is not. So 3 different interpretations, make of them what you will. Again, nobody's exactly sure what's in the agreement or what exactly it binds them to do. It could be the agreement was just purely symbolic, so that they could kind of just wave it into the international media's face and try to scare people with it, but that otherwise they don't actually intend to bind themselves to commit to anything.
They would like to posture, but then not actually stick their neck out.
Yeah, very common in politics. No different in international negotiations. They also signed an agreement on the construction of a border road bridge, which has the potential to improve their rail connectivity. Most of their trade goes by rail. And actually, I read, this is kind of a side note, but apparently North Korean leaders prefer to travel by train. Kim Il-sung, the first dictator of North Korea, would only travel to the Soviet Union by train because he was afraid of flying. And subsequent North Korean leaders have rarely left North Korea, again, because leaving the country kind of makes you vulnerable. It increases the likelihood of somebody who wants power seizing it in your absence. So they generally prefer to stay in North Korea, but when they do travel abroad, they've almost always traveled by train, keeping in mind that, they mostly just travel to Russia or China.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kim Jong-un did fly when he met Trump back in the talks, back in the day. back when we just first started doing this. So that was a rare example of a North Korean leader taking a flight. But for the most part, rail is preferred. The North Koreans have these big armored trains that they travel in. It's kind of weird. Very old school. Let's see. So border road bridge, and then they also signed an agreement involving quote-unquote cooperation on health, medical education, and science. Make of that what you will. Details on agreements like this are generally pretty scarce. You generally don't actually figure out what they tangibly involved until, months later, or maybe even longer than that. So what's the significance of all this? It's actually not so much military. Obviously, like I said, South Korea is concerned about a change in the balance of power vis-a-vis North Korea's military power and South Korea's military power. But the broader issue is actually sanctions evasion. Because one of the things Russia did a couple months ago, I think, is that they actually used their vote on the UN Security Council to prevent the renewal of a standing body at the UN that was responsible for overseeing the UN's international sanctions regime against North Korea. So the sanctions are still technically in place, but there's no UN body now that's actually checking to make sure that they're being enforced. Presumably enforcement will now fall more towards individual governments, which were probably already doing that. You can bet that the US government was already doing that, but without the UN's participation, you just have that many fewer resources being deployed on that area. So that kind of suggests that the Russian government is, for one, doing that as part of a quid pro quo, but two, is perhaps interested in relaxing its own sanctions against North Korea in order to improve trade. Not only so that they can buy more military equipment from what limited military industry North Korea has, but also as part of the quid pro quo so that North Korea can buy more Russian stuff, or more likely, buy stuff through Russia that they would not otherwise be able to get because of international sanctions. Everybody knows that Russia is engaging in sanctions evasion by engaging in the re-export trade, right? They're buying stuff from third-party countries that do not have sanctions against Russia, which are themselves buying goods that are sanctioned from generally Western countries that are sanctioning Russia, and then selling those back into Russia. So what could happen is that North Korea could use that same network to buy stuff through Russia, thereby circumventing sanctions to a much greater degree than they are currently capable of doing. So if they do engage in that kind of trade, then the North Korean economy could be substantively rejuvenated, which would not be great for South Korea, strategically speaking. And also they could buy more military equipment, or if not actual military equipment, then dual-use equipment like chips and whatnot. Which, yes, they already do to a degree, but it'll be easier if Russia helps them do it. And so the speculation is that the Russians might actually end up doing that. It's not clear right now if that's actually going to happen, but again, that seems to be the direction of travel right now for the North Korean-Russian relationship.
Yeah, if they're both getting cut off and outcast in certain ways, it makes sense for them to broker deals between each other to alleviate some of that pressure.
So you could say that one of the unintended consequences of the Ukraine conflict could end up be a North Korea which has broader access to Western technology.
Mm-hmm. Through Russia, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's see, what else did we have? Israel update. There's not too much new happening there. There was a new push to try to get them to talk, that is to say, to get Hamas and the Israeli government to negotiate over a ceasefire. So they kind of go around and around on that. Usually what happens is that the Israelis pretend to engage in those negotiations in order to appease the United States. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much been what's happening since October. The U.S. will kind of prod them towards negotiating something. So then the Israeli government will propose something, and then Hamas invariably kind of rejects it because they're not really that interested in a ceasefire either. And so then it's kind of a big horse and pony show. And then the United States tries to pretend that it's actually substantive so that people in the US will stop complaining about all of the violence. So for what it's worth, in the most recent negotiations over a ceasefire, there were actually some talks between Hamas and Fatah, which is the main political body that is governing the West Bank, as opposed to Gaza, which Hamas controls. And one of the things Hamas wants is some kind of technocratic government in Gaza. They don't actually think that they're going to be able to keep control of it. So they've kind of tacitly accepted that at this point. But they want to cede power on their terms, basically. So rather than just giving Gaza to Fatah and the Palestinian Authority, they want some kind of impartial technocratic government, which isn't really either Hamas or Fatah. So that to them is their compromise, quote unquote. They also want elections in the West Bank, if not also Gaza, because there has supposed to have been elections for something like 20 years now. They had elections in 2006, and then they've just been postponed continuously ever since. So one of Hamas's conditions here is that those elections actually take place, finally. So these are not necessarily the biggest asks, but certainly Fatah isn't going to be all that interested. And regardless of what Fatah thinks, it's not entirely clear Israel is going to give a shit one way or the other. Again, it's really down to them more than anything. For Fatah's part, they want direct control of Gaza, which, good luck with that. But unsurprisingly, given that they already control the West Bank and consider themselves the sole legitimate governor, so to speak, of the Palestinian territories, no shock that they're trying to extend that authority to the territory they lost in 2006. And they also want Hamas to recognize its various agreements with Israel, including things like the Oslo Accords, recognition of Israel, that kind of stuff. But that's all pretty long-standing. Fatah, rather, has pretty much always demanded that of Hamas. So no surprise here, again, that it's propping up again in these new negotiations. Other than Fatah-Hamas talks, I think we talked before about how Benny Gantz left the war cabinet. I don't recall if I brought that up, do you?
Sounds familiar. Maybe you did.
Yeah, he's the lead opposition candidate. He announced that he was going to leave the war cabinet, which was basically a special cabinet that was designed to be a grand coalition between all of the parties during the war with Hamas, because it was an emergency, basically. So he had been complaining more and more about how the war was being handled, and then he finally announced that he was going to leave. And then he announced that he was going to delay his leaving for a while, and then he finally did leave. So it has actually happened at this point. And in the wake of that, Netanyahu has announced that he's just going to dissolve the war cabinet entirely. So the war cabinet is now over. That's done with. Other than that, Hezbollah has been intensifying attacks on Israel in the north. That's been going on since October last year, but it's been getting a little bit more intense over the past couple months. And it's got the Israeli government more and more concerned that they might have to intervene in Lebanon in order to try to tamp down on the Hezbollah attacks. Yeah, the attacks Hezbollah has been launching have mostly just been rocket attacks. They've also been doing more drone attacks more recently, I think. And they've just kind of been hitting whatever. In northern Israel, houses, military bases, military outposts, whatnot. And every time they do, the Israelis invariably retaliate. But it hasn't really spun out of control yet, because the thinking right now is that Hezbollah is not actually interested in a conflict with Israel. The thinking is that they just want to show solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza in order to try to maintain their street cred, basically, in order to maintain their legitimacy as part of the resistance, as the Iranians like to call it, in the Middle East. But beyond that, they haven't really escalated enough to warrant full intervention thus far. It is basically just skirmishing at this point, and has been from the start. So it may be that the Israelis kind of forego direct intervention in southern Lebanon, just because eventually when the fighting in Gaza kind of tamps down, presumably that then will lead to some kind of decline in the violence involving Hezbollah on the northern border. But it could also be that hawks within the Israeli government don't want to do that. They may prefer to try to, as they like to say, reestablish deterrence. In other words, they want to try to send a strong message to Hezbollah, a violent message, as you would assume, that doing this kind of skirmishing, especially when Israel is involved in a conflict with the Palestinians, is going to incur a strong response, such that they would be deterred from doing this again in future under similar circumstances. So that line of reasoning could win the day, and given how conservative and hawkish the Netanyahu administration, you can't really rule that out. But contrary to what you might think, Netanyahu himself is actually pretty averse to military conflict. Famously so. You know, he kind of gets a lot of shit for that from his right, especially. So it may be that his own predilections kind of win the day there in that regard. You know, regardless of what Hezbollah wants in terms of wanting to avoid a conflict, or in terms of what war hawks in his administration want, it may be ultimately that Netanyahu's own predisposition and cautiousness vis-a-vis conflict will eventually lead the Israeli government to aver on direct intervention in Lebanon. But that is what people are watching right now. Is Israel going to intervene or not? And even if they don't, they could eventually end up escalating things by retaliating too strongly, so to speak, such that Hezbollah retaliates, and then it kind of goes tit for tat and spins out of control. So that's sort of the space people are keeping an eye on. If I had to guess, I would say the fact that neither Netanyahu nor Hezbollah really wants to fight a larger conflict will mean that there won't be one. That's my intuition. But we'll kind of have to keep an eye on that. We'll see. And then the other thing that happened recently was that Netanyahu criticized the U.S. government for holding up a shipment of weapons. I think it's a shipment. I think the article said shipments, but as far as I know, there's only one that's actually been held up. Regardless, though, Netanyahu is whining about it, and so the Biden administration actually, quote-unquote, punished him by canceling a high-level meeting. One of the staff members in the Biden administration said that they wanted to show Netanyahu that there would be consequences for stunts, as they call it, like this. So, you know, that's not too unusual. That used to happen a lot during the Obama administration in particular. Not so much during the Trump administration, but now during the Biden administration. They've tried to avoid open confrontation with the Israelis, but as tensions have rose over the past couple months in particular, some of those tensions have kind of come out into the open. So this is the most recent iteration of that. And then in the past couple days, Netanyahu has announced that the operation in Rafah would be the last major offensive of the war. So they're not saying the war is going to be over. They're just saying that the fighting will be much less intensive going forward, because instead of doing these big offensives, trying to destroy Hamas, they're going to switch more to a counterinsurgency mode, where they're focused on just trying to keep Hamas down and prevent them from being able to concentrate large forces that would be capable of doing something like another October attack, basically, like what they did last year. Mowing the lawn, as the Israelis call it.
Jeez.
He also said that he was open to a partial deal, quote unquote, with Hamas that would secure the release of the remaining Israeli hostages. But he also added that he wasn't going to abandon his goal of, quote unquote, destroying Hamas, end quote. So no more major offensives. There will still be fighting. He's open to a deal, but he's not going to stop trying to kill all of the members of Hamas either. So that doesn't really bode well as far as a ceasefire. It kind of seems like he's very much wedded to the idea of another potential year or two of perpetual fighting in Gaza as they just continue to go after Hamas members. But I don't know if that's going to be viable over the long term. You know, it's one thing to knock down a standing government with standing military forces, which is kind of what they were doing in the early stages of the war. But at this point, it's increasingly shifting into counterinsurgency. And as anybody who has been involved in that knows, that is a very messy activity that has no clear-cut, determined end point. So if that's the direction they're going, they're probably going to end up in some kind of quagmire. And that's not really going to be good for anybody.
Yeah, quagmires are bad.
Yeah, but avoiding it would require Netanyahu to climb down from his maximalist objectives, and he doesn't really seem willing to do any of that. And there's increasingly pressure from his left, from the opposition, as led by Benny Gantz, to try to give ground in that area. I would point out, as I've done before, that the opposition in Israel does not really want to go any softer on the Palestinians than Netanyahu does. The issue is more one of degree and priorities than anything. They would rather, that is to say, the opposition would rather focus a lot more on getting the hostages and then creating some kind of equilibrium in Gaza in which Hamas is out of power, rather than doing what the far right coalition currently in government wants to do, which is much more maximalist. Netanyahu himself says he wants to get rid of Hamas entirely. His far right allies say that they want to colonize Gaza outright and return there with the settlements and whatnot. Certainly, at the very least, as some of his supporters have argued, they want to significantly curb Hamas's ability to continue further operations of any kind of significant scale. But if that's the objective, they've kind of already done that, as Netanyahu himself has basically now said. So I'm not sure what the future plan is. As I've said from the start, I really don't think that there's ever been a real plan here, either on the part of Hamas or the Israeli government. So this really does feel like everybody's just kind of winging it at this point, even more so than it did earlier. So more killing to no particular end is my prognosis at this juncture, and my prediction for the foreseeable future, unfortunately.
Damn. Status quo is a violent status quo.
Yeah, very much so. So that's your Israel update, and then we did North Korea. Yeah, I think those are the big items. I did have some notes on the South China Sea, and that could be worth getting into because that's been getting hotter more recently. Have you heard anything about that recently?
That the sea itself is getting hotter, or that there's been news in the area?
Tensions between the Philippines and China have been getting worse over the past couple months over territorial disputes in the South China Sea.
Cool. Thank you for letting me be a smartass for a second.
No, by all means. I come from a long line of smartasses. I'm in no position to criticize.
I've always said it's better to be a smartass than a dumbass, so.
Well, as I've proven many times in life, it is quite possible to be both. Much experience in that regard.
Well played.
Let's see. Where do we start with this? Early 2024, I should say. Maybe some background is in order. So if you're not familiar with this issue, who controls the ocean, so to speak? Borders extend out into ocean surrounding land territory. So who controls exactly what stretches of ocean in the South China Sea has been the subject of considerable debate over the past couple decades. And historically, it hadn't mattered too much because European empires basically just controlled it regardless. And there was a limited ability technologically to exploit the resources under the ocean floor. So kind of a non-issue. But even in the early mid-20th century, the Chinese government still maintained a nominal territorial claim over the waters in the South China Sea, predicated on their claim on the various islands and islets in that territory. And they were not able to enforce that claim at all, but they maintained the claim just for legal purposes, basically. For the sake of legal argument, and just in case in the future they might be able to actually exercise that claim. And they've been doing a lot of exercising in the past 10 years in particular, specifically in the northern part of the South China Sea. They've been going to various atolls and whatnot, and they've been doing a lot of dredging, which basically involves just dumping soil on top of these various atolls and other islets, and doing so until they turn them into actual islands that are large enough to build military bases on. So that was a project they started about 10, well, actually longer, more like 14 years ago, around 2010, 2011. And they started doing that so that they could actually have a tangible presence on the ground in these territories that are disputed. And other countries in the region didn't like it, but they also didn't have much they could actually do about it. For one, China's military, specifically its Navy and Coast Guard, is generally bigger than their navies. Also, a lot of these countries in Southeast Asia have strong economic ties to China, such that if they did significantly contest these Chinese claims, there's good potential for a significant economic backlash from the Chinese government that would have a significant and disproportionately negative impact on Southeast Asian economies. So that creates a big deterrence to actually really contesting China's claims in the region, and that's given the Chinese government a lot of leeway to try to push these claims. And they've been more and more aggressive about it over time. At first, it was just the artificial islands, but more and more they've sent the Chinese Coast Guard into the South China Sea to try to run off fishermen from the various other countries in the area that claim various bits of territory in the South China Sea. The Chinese claim in the region is actually pretty extensive. They call it the 9-dash line, and it extends like really deep into the South China Sea, pretty much all the way to the coast of Malaysia, much far to the south. Now, different countries have taken different strategies to dealing with this issue, because they can't entirely just give up, because that would be very unpopular within their own domestic politics. So, in the case of Vietnam, they basically tried to exploit the resources anyway, to varying degrees of success. Sometimes that creates confrontations with the Chinese Coast Guard, and sometimes those projects and those companies involved, the private sector companies involved, end up pulling out because they don't want to get in the bad graces of Beijing. But others have been more willing, and so there's kind of a mixed bag in terms of Vietnam's performance there. And Vietnam has a little more leeway to work with, too, because they've gone out of their way to try to maintain relatively cordial relations with China. Vietnam's strategy is not to be anti-China or pro-China. Their strategy is to try to balance the United States and China off of each other so that neither can pressure them too much. Pretty smart strategy, and it's been pretty effective over the past couple decades. But regardless, this strategy doesn't really involve going out of their way to antagonize China. So they have not really been in the news too much for doing so as far as the South China Sea issue. Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand really don't have much of a strategy at all. The Chinese really don't antagonize them too much anyway. Generally, they're focused more on the northern territories, much more so than the southern territories. And so that's resulted in that being a non-issue. You really don't see them in the news as far as the South China Sea issue at all. The Philippines is a very different story. So out of all the countries in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is definitely the one that is the most regularly in the news as far as trying to contest China's claim to the region, which is interesting because they don't have one of the stronger economies in Southeast Asia. And so their military is not correspondingly all that large. They don't have a lot of resources to work with there. But they have managed to establish a toehold on one particular atoll. Actually, it's not even a toll. It's just like I forget the technical maritime name for it. Basically, it's a stretch of land, which is not even land. It's just a stretch of territory that's just below the surface of the water. Very close, but not enough to be an actual island. So what they did is they took a LST, which is like an amphibious landing ship. It's a ship that was designed to help land tanks on land from the ocean. So they beached an LST in this territory here. And what they've done is they manned it with Marines, Filipino Marines. And they've had that as an outpost that has represented their sort of boots on the ground, actually establishing their control over that stretch of territory in the South China Sea. And the Chinese government has always hated that, but they also don't want to initiate some kind of hostilities by forcing either the Marines or the beached ship itself. I guess it's technically grounded ship itself, to try to remove it entirely. So they've instead engaged in this sort of weird cat and mouse game where the Filipinos try to resupply them, but then the Chinese Coast Guard tries to intercept them to stop that. But neither side wants to go too far, so it's generally limited to just ships maneuvering aggressively to try to get in each other's way, and otherwise finding just any and every way to try to inhibit them without actually using force. It's kind of goofy, but it's goofy in a positive way. It's kind of like that gentleman's agreement that the Chinese government has with the Indian government, that none of the troops on their disputed border in the Himalayas should actually use weapons. So there's no firearms, no heavy weapons, no aircraft. It's just border guards equipped with sticks and batons, pretty much. And so in so much as there's been tension there, the clashes that result generally have just been between guys with sticks instead of guys with actual firearms that could be lethal. Doesn't mean people haven't died, but the people that have died in those skirmishes died because they fell into a river or fell down a ravine or something like that. Nobody's shooting each other, and so that helps mitigate the possibility of escalation. So there's kind of a similar thing happening with the Philippines. There's no actual gentleman's agreement there, but both sides are concerned enough about escalation that they're trying to hew towards nonviolent confrontation. Part of the reason China does that is because the Philippines, unlike India, actually has a mutual defense agreement with the United States. So if they actually do anything overly hostile, that could actually trigger the agreement and result of the introduction of the U.S. Navy into that conflict, which would not be nearly as lopsided as the current confrontation between the Chinese Navy and the Filipino Navy has been. So that's kind of the state of play. That had been the state of play. But for reasons that are a little bit ambiguous, there's been escalating tension in that status quo since the beginning of 2024. And I tried to kind of read more into that, but the details are a little sketched and nobody entirely agrees on what exactly is happening there. Supposedly, there was an agreement with the previous president of the Philippines by which the Filipinos agreed not to send quote-unquote construction materials to the grounded ship. That is the center of their dispute there in the South China Sea. And the idea there is that the ship is breaking down because it's old, and the Chinese don't want them either significantly repairing it to prevent it from breaking down, nor do they want them to expand the outpost that they have there beyond the ship. So supposedly, I have to say supposedly, that was the agreement, because the Filipinos say that it didn't really happen. And there's also disagreement about an earlier alleged agreement by which the Filipinos may have agreed to remove the ship entirely. That especially is contested by the Filipinos. So make of that what you will. Supposedly there was some kind of agreement with the Duterte government. And the new government under Marcos has apparently reneged on that to some degree. So the Chinese say. And so that's their rationalization for escalating. The Filipinos, for their part, say that it's nothing to do with that and that it's just the Chinese being aggressive. Who you believe, I'm not going to make the judgment for you. People can decide that for themselves. But that's kind of where the dispute is right now. So what has escalation actually meant? So early on, it basically just meant more of the usual, sailing dangerously close to Filipino resupply ships, spraying each other with high-power hoses, Chinese demanding via radio that Filipino ships leave quote-unquote Chinese waters.
Radio
the
demands.
Chinese, huh?
Radio demands. Ooh.
Oh yeah, well, it's the easiest and cheapest to do, so why not?
Yeah.
The Chinese also blared sirens and used strobe lights to try to disorient Filipino personnel. It is distracting. And they've also used tear gas and rocks in order to attack Filipino vessels.
How big are rocks? Like small rocks or like stones, boulders?
I don't think Chinese vessels in this area are equipped with trebuchets, so probably pretty small would be my guess. Let's see. So since then, in April, the incident, what was it? Chinese water cannons injured Filipino personnel and also damaged a vessel during a resupply mission. The Filipino ship that was grounded is called the Sierra Madre, by the way, for future reference. So there were a couple Filipino personnel that were injured, but otherwise, Not too much of an escalation. They've always kind of used water cannons to varying degrees. But then in March, there was supposedly a Filipino medical evacuation mission that was supposed to evacuate some personnel from the Sierra Madre. And the Chinese interfered with that. Allegedly, because they were concerned it was actually just secretly a resupply mission. So Chinese boats used water cannons to try to, successfully scare off the emergency medical evacuation craft. I have to say craft because they're not using ships. Almost all of this confrontation is happening involving the use of what are called rigid hold inflatable boats. And so these are basically, if you looked at them, you would say, oh, that's an inflatable boat. But these are like military grade inflatable boats, which sounds goofy, but is an actual thing. Special forces like to use them. But also river forces and other, Coast Guard forces, they also enjoy using these vessels because they're quick and you can use them to intercept ships.
So they're like
that
really
use
maneuverable.
Yeah, they're very maneuverable. They're very small. And so the Chinese Coast Guard and the Filipino Navy have been using these in their confrontation around the Sierra Madre. So when you hear about them attacking each other, throwing rocks at each other, mostly that's the small craft. There are some ships, like the resupply ships the Filipino Navy uses. Those are actual ships, albeit not huge ships, but actual ships. And then when you hear about things like water cannons and whatnot and, aggressive maneuvering, that's generally the Chinese Coast Guard using actual ships as well, and not the inflatable boats. So, they're both there, but most of the physical confrontation is happening amongst the crews of the various inflatable boats involved. And also the resupply ships themselves don't have the ability to directly transport supplies to the Sierra Madre. So generally what happens is that the supplies are passed down to the boats, the inflatable boats, and then they go to the Sierra Madre and then unload them there. So generally that's the part of the process that the Chinese are directly intervening in. The Filipinos, for their part, as a side note here, they have been trying to think of other ways to resupply the ship. They've considered using drones, and they also recently started commissioning a civilian vessel called the Lapu-Lapu, which is basically a spruced up civilian ship that has been reinforced to make it a little more resilient to these, various forms of Chinese interference, reinforced windows, that kind of thing. And they've also resorted at various times to airdropping supplies, although that's kind of a risky approach because the Chinese kind of know when that's going to happen, and so then they'll send their inflatable boats out to intercept the supplies after they've been dropped in the ocean before the Filipinos can get them. So those are some of the other methods, but most of the supplies, as I understand it, are being transferred by way of inflatable boat after getting them from resupply ships. Okay, so we talked about March. So then in June, more recently, air supplies intercepted. Again, no surprise there. But the most recent one was the one that got more violent, relatively speaking. So there was a couple Filipino inflatable boats that were actually targeted, towed, and boarded by Chinese Coast Guard inflatable boats. And supposedly one of them was rammed by a Chinese Coast Guard boat, such that a Filipino crewman, lost his thumb because the Chinese inflatable boat basically rammed them and then went over and above the ship, and somebody's thumb got crushed in the process.
Ouch.
So they boarded it, and the wild thing about this one is that they didn't use guns. Again, everybody's trying to avoid firearms and whatnot for the most part. So when the Chinese crew boarded, they actually boarded with swords and knives.
Whoa, actual pirate attack.
That was what the internet was joking about, like actual swords and knives, like a pirate attack.
So medieval shit, let's go.
So the Filipino sailors were at a disadvantage because, again, they'd been disallowed from using any firearms, but they, unlike the Chinese, did not bring any swords or knives, so they had to fight hand to hand.
Kung Fu versus sword. This is so crazy.
But as you can imagine, that didn't go well for them, so they were eventually subdued. And the Chinese Coast Guard towed their inflatable boat away and seized the weapons and other supplies that were on board that had been intended for the Sierra Madre. So all of that is a little more violent and confrontational than is the norm for this confrontation. So I wanted to bring it up just in case it does escalate further, so that everybody is aware that that is a possibility. If I had to guess, I don't think it'll escalate too much further, because I don't think either country is, again, actually that interested in a major conflict over, a rusting LST on a shoal. But, on the chance that it does, be prepared. That is hypothetically a possibility.
Unfortunately, they weren't armored. Yeah, they probably didn't have plate mail or chain mail on hand at the time.
No, they did not. And not only that, but the Chinese actually poked holes in the Filipinos' inflatable boats after they towed them.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the risk you take with an inflatable boat, right?
They could always bring a needle and just poke it in the side, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Abandoned ship.
But that was the drama in the South China Sea recently.
Interesting.
Let's see. Oh, I noticed you didn't post last week's video. Was that because we did Baldur's Gate?
Yeah. There might have been an issue with that VOD, I'm not sure. These are like 48-hour chunks now when I'm doing the subathon, so it's not like the one day of. It's attached to everything else.
Gotcha.
But I'll update you on that.
Yeah, I did notice the Twitch VODs are like 48 hours apiece.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff all at once, and I'm also trying to be active uploading on the YouTube channel and
yeah.
Instagram.
Oh, just for clarity, I was talking about the YouTube, not the Twitch VOD.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I don't think I've got too much else here.
We could switch over pretty soon, maybe after I'm out of this StarCraft game.
You in one?
Yeah, we're up against that Terran who's turtling, but I have 2 Vipers, so that's the unit you're supposed to make to break that. He's turtling, playing super defensive. See if we can throw a wrench in there.
Let's see. Oh, I did read something about the CHIPS Act. So the Biden administration is kind of hanging its hat, so to speak, on the fact that it passed 3 major landmark pieces of legislation relating to industrial policy. One of them was the Inflation Reduction Act, which was basically just a green industrial policy law that gave a lot of subsidies to renewable energy and that kind of stuff. Another one was the CHIPS Act, which was a big subsidy for semiconductor producers. And then there was a third one, which is escaping me. What was it, Neuro? What am I trying to remember? Semiconductors, green, and then there was another one. Well, that's going to bug the hell out of me, but regardless, the CHIPS Act specifically is the one I wanted to talk about here real quick. There was a study done on what the projected impact of the CHIPS Act is going to be. And what they found is that the U.S. share of the chip market is going to increase, which was, the intended result. But it's not going to increase by all that much, probably. So in 2022, the U.S. had a 10% market share. I would point out that this is not just semiconductors in general. This is specifically advanced semiconductors. But that's specifically what the CHIPS Act was targeting. So 10% of the market, 10% of market share amongst 4 rather advanced chips in 2022. In 2032, it's projected to rise to 14%. So that's better than nothing, and it's higher than what we've been at, but it's also not a dramatic improvement over where we were at before. Certainly there will be improved production, and in so much as you just wanted improved production so that any potential break with China in terms of trade would be mitigated, or a potential conflict with China over Taiwan, more like. Any disruption to the supply of semiconductors would be less severe if you have more production indigenized into the United States. So that'll be achieved, but we're not going to be anywhere near self-sufficiency, again, in terms of advanced chips specifically. So if that's what people think the goal was, they're probably going to be disappointed. And in general, industrial policy is a very hit or miss enterprise. Lots of countries have tried it, but success stories tend to be pretty few and far between. Generally, results are very mixed in terms of actual deliverables over the long term. So the CHIPS Act probably was a worthwhile endeavor. It's not a bad idea in principle, especially strategically speaking. But economically speaking, it's probably not sufficient to actually significantly change the degree of production, the degree of global production of advanced semiconductors that happens in the United States. The change in that regard is going to be relatively marginal. So something to keep in mind and talk about during your next water cooler conversation.
Nice. So you won't be lost at the water cooler, unsure about what to talk about. I read the chat a little bit of American Nations, just the beginning of it, as an example of some U.S. history stuff that gives a different angle than at least most Americans are used to being served through school and whatnot. And it starts with talking about El Norte, which is a region that we don't usually associate with early America, but it definitely was early European colonization of that part of the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Conquistadors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the oldest settlement in the United States is Santa Fe, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is so weird because that's really deep inland.
Yeah.
From when you're looking at the coasts.
Yeah, Spanish settlers. Well, I shouldn't say settlers. I should say mostly Spanish missionaries moving up north from Mexico founded Santa Fe. And for a long time, it was just kind of a frontier mission, and there wasn't a whole lot going on there. But it did become an important waypoint for people traveling to and fro, west coast to east coast, or more specifically in local trade routes. It was a logical stopping point since it already had some infrastructure.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. We have a very English and French-centric perspective on the U.S.
Yeah, very much so.
Chat's asking, what does be prepared mean if tensions escalate with the Chinese and the Philippines?
Well, I don't mean mobilize. I don't mean like rally your local militia or anything like that. I guess I just mean it in the sense of don't be surprised. Like, don't say I didn't warn you. Like, if it suddenly escalates, or even just gradually escalates such that it's a major issue, a couple months down the line, just try to remember Old Man Smith gave you a little heads up. You heard it here first.
We have a viewer who's been to the oldest chapel outside of Santa Fe. It's very interesting. Do you remember roundabouts of when it was made?
Santa Fe?
I'm asking the viewer about this chapel, specifically. When was Santa Fe set up?
1500s? Mid-late, I want to say.
Damn.
I would not want to have lived there.
So 1610 it was founded.
1610? Oh, okay. Not 1500s. Surprises me a little.
It's very early 1600s. Yeah, it's such a kind of desertous in between. I guess it was probably like an oasis stopping point along the way, where there are some things of value there. I don't really know the landscape of Santa Fe.
Colorado River? No, the Rio Grande. That's what it is. The Rio Grande runs up right through the middle of New Mexico.
Gotcha. And that ended up being the line for a lot of where Texas is.
It did. Those damn Yankees made us give up a whole bunch of it, though.
Huh.
Yeah, the Texas border used to be, to the west, used to be the Rio Grande. So everything east of the Rio Grande was Texas. But then, as part of one of the conditions for Texas becoming a state is that we had to give up a whole bunch of that land, and it became federal land instead of Texas land. So half of New Mexico used to be Texas. A sliver of Colorado used to be Texas. The panhandle of Oklahoma used to be Texas. And I think, what's north of New Mexico? No, that's Colorado, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it used to extend like way up to the northwest of where Texas is now. But all of that had to be given up.
Do you think any people in Texas want to take a more expansionist stance? Get the land back?
I don't think they care. I don't think they care. If they did, think of all the money that they would have to waste updating all of that souvenir shit.
True. Yeah, Texas tourism is a thing. You'd have to redraw all the maps. That would be a pain. Yeah.
And the shape of Texas is kind of iconic by now, right?
Yeah. Well, that just means that you would need to conquer equally in every direction. So you maintain the same shape.
Just to preserve the shape.
Yes. Go equal directions, north, south, east, and west. And then you're good.
Oh, I didn't. Did we have any questions? I totally forgot to look.
I don't know. Fuzzy Core, did you pass any along? I was reading some from chat.
Okay, I don't see any new ones.
Okay, cool.
If somebody has a question while we're doing BG3, then that's fine too. I don't mind answering anything in that regard.
Yeah, we're open to it. Wasn't Texican a Mexican country? Excuse my ignorance. It was a part of Mexico. It was like a region in Mexico. It wasn't really a Mexican country. You could say that the people in Texas had a lot of Mexican representation, but at that time it was more so Spaniards, native Mexicans, imported people, and then European squatters and colonizers. It wasn't really a homogenous group of people. Native Americans, Europeans, and yeah, different orientations of those.
Yeah, what actually happened is that Mexico was having trouble settling their northern territories. That was a recurring problem for a very long time. Mexico has historically been much more hierarchical than the United States. Like the conquistadors settled it, dominated it, and mostly just wanted people to stay de facto enslaved on the encomiendas, which were basically these sort of plantation estates that the conquistadors set up. And they also didn't allow a lot of immigration into Mexico after it was conquered, because again, they wanted to mostly just keep it for themselves. And the Spanish crown was pretty happy to facilitate that, so long as they were getting the gold from the gold mines. That's where the real money was for them. So the result is that Mexico didn't get like big influxes of Europeans to come and settle into frontier territory, and the people already in Mexico were largely tied to the land, almost like serfs, such that they didn't really move around enough to settle new land like Americans did later. So the result is that a lot of Mexico's northern territories were largely empty, and so much as there were Spanish there, they were largely missionaries or cattlemen. I guess I should say ranchers, that's a better term. And eventually what happened is that after Mexico became independent, the Mexican government felt that the fact that its northern frontier was mostly empty was a threat, and would make it more likely that that territory would eventually be, just settled by somebody else, probably Americans. So they decided to allow a limited number of Americans in legally, on the condition that they be required to learn Spanish and, observe and respect Mexican law in the northern territories. And so they implemented that program. They actually cut a deal with a guy named Stephen Austin. And yes, that is who the capital of Texas is named after, the city of Austin.
Stephen F. Austin, yep.
Yeah. So he cut a deal with the Mexican government, and then he got a bunch of American settlers to come in. They learned Spanish, yada, yada, yada. And that arrangement worked for a while. There were some Mexicans there, but by and large, it was Anglos for a long time, because they were the ones most interested in the land. And it only got to break down because of a revolution in Mexico, by which a dictator emerged. He was not an especially liberal dictator, but he had liberal policies. For example, he wanted to ban slavery. And that was a big problem for the Anglo settlers in Texas, because a lot of them moved to Texas explicitly to set up cotton plantations, which were largely worked by slave labor. And, losing their slaves would be a big problem for them. And also, they didn't like the centralization that happened because the dictatorship wanted to greatly centralize authority in the new government, as opposed to the more decentralized arrangement that had been the case before. So the result then was a revolution, the Texas Revolution. Actually, I would point out here, not to be, so that I'm not too Texas-centric here, it was not just Texas that revolted against Santa Anna's government. It was actually a whole bunch of states in Mexico that revolted. Texas was basically just the one that got away. We were the only one that succeeded. But the Texas Revolution resulted in the Alamo, the Battle of Gilead, and the Battle of San Jacinto, where sort of this ragtag army of Texans, mostly Anglos, but also some Mexicans and other people. There was also some Europeans. Again, just kind of a motley crew of different people there. And they were able to defeat the Mexican army at the Battle of San Jacinto by attacking them while they were sleeping.
Yep, the famous siesta cheese. Not the most honorable way to win, but a technically valid way to win.
Yeah, they kind of caught the Mexican army during the daily siesta, where they were kind of napping in the middle of the day. And their guard was down, and they were able to basically just run roughshod through their camp. And they actually managed to capture the Emperor of Mexico, Santa Anna himself.
Wow. And
forced him to sign an agreement basically at gunpoint, allowing Texas to separate from Mexico and declare its independence. Santa Anna then returned to Mexico in ignominy. He was not popular, in other words. He would actually become president later, but that was a whole different adventure. The history of Santa Anna in Mexican politics is actually really interesting. He's kind of like this recurring dramatic character who pops up now and again. And whenever he does, there's always crazy shit happening. But anyway, that's how Texas got its independence. And so, yeah, it's true that it's kind of a mixed group. Historically, mostly Anglos, but there were definitely other groups involved as well. Let's see, and your invite is here.
My viola instructor was from a family that was kind of Spanish settlers. And they lived like right where the Texas border is currently. So some of their family got split, and they live in Texas now, and some live in Mexico now, just by how that border was drawn. But it used to be just more of all Texas, all in that area, or all part of Mexico, really. So there wasn't a dividing national line. Thanks for the in-depth answer. You're welcome, chat. Yeah, you can ask us questions as we're going. We're both playing a video game now, so we might be a little bit slower in the conversation pace, but if you have questions about the economies of real countries on Earth or in Faerun, let us know.
Well, one more thing about Texas. Texas did not immediately join the United States as a state after it became independent, because there was a huge-ass debate in the United States about slavery happening at that time. And if Texas was going to join the U.S., it was going to be as a slave state. And a lot of the people that were anti-slavery did not want that, because they did not want more states. They did not want more slave states in the Union, because that would tip the balance of power in politics in favor of slavery. So the result of Texas asking to join the United States after independence from Mexico was rejection. Washington actually said no. And for 10 years then, Texas was just an independent country living between the United States and Mexico. It wasn't until 1844, 1845 maybe, that Texas eventually was able to get its request to be joined with the United States accepted. And that happened because there was a change in government in Washington. Basically, the pro-expansionist faction of American politics was able to win a majority and win the presidency. And then after that, there was a vote in Washington. Texas was accepted into the Union, and then immediately after, there was a war with Mexico, because Washington and Mexico City never came to an agreement about where the border between Texas and Mexico actually was. Obviously, the Texans and Americans said that it was the Rio Grande, and the Mexicans said that it was further north at the Nueces River. And that disagreement led to war. The United States won it. And then as part of that war, the United States not only got its preferred border at the Rio Grande, but they also forced the Mexican government to concede a whole bunch of land in the American Southwest, including California, Arizona, New Mexico, etc. So all of that had been Mexico, but then because of this war fought over the border with Texas, Mexico lost all of that to the United States.
Damn. Chat's asking, what are your sources for this information?
Texas high school history, actually Texas middle school history. Everybody in Texas has to take Texas history when they're a kid. So you learn all of this stuff then. But I've also returned to it a couple times in my own reading.
Welcome, Jack. Texas school education. We were given the good version of what happened from the, I guess the powers that be. We got a very, ooh, rah, Texas is the best, we're so brave. Remember the Alamo, by the way. It was just a bunch of normal people in the Alamo, and mean old Santa Anna was trying to take our homes, drive us from our lands. But the brave Texans stood up against them. Davy Crockett felled 100 foes, only with his cap alone. Alright. So we have defeated and unseated all 3 of the goblin leaders. Minthara was the only one left alive. We KO'd her. But she probably still exists over there. So
do you remember the Texas Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the Texas. Actually, I don't remember. Is it, did we say one nation? One state? Indivisible?
I honestly don't remember. I never said it.
Yeah, you were required to. They made one
on all the other students.
Yeah, you're supposed to pledge allegiance not only to your nation, but to your state, and then to your, what is it, your district. I pledge allegiance to Tarrant County. Hey, who is this guy?
I should speak up.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Is he just walking out?
These goblins have blood on their minds.
Have you ever talked to them before?
I am leaving.
No, he said he's leaving.
If not, you're in for a treat.
And he just
Oh,
left.
really?
Yeah.
Adjust my graphic settings.
Pledge allegiance to District 9.
That's too bad. If you talk to him... I was going to say, if you talk to him
Dear
earlier,
child,
he'll
the
actually offer
goblins
to give you... he'll basically... And it gives you like a mild temporary buff.
Huh.
Oh, did you want me to show you where you can get down to the Underdark?
Yeah, we could do that. Or we could get Karlak first and then do that.
Well, we don't actually have to go to the Underdark. I can just show
Oh, you
you
just
the
want to show me the
path.
entrance? Sure, sure, sure. I'm going back into Goblin City.
Yeah, for anybody not from the United States listening, only Texas has a Pledge of Allegiance like that.
Used to be its own country for a brief period of time.
Briefly.
World discussion is usually Sunday. Yes, we moved it to Monday. Welcome, Huckleberry. We did some
Fiddle with this
StarCraft
for-
world discussion, and now we have him on his barbarian Swami Sri Ki. We have a wizard and a fighter. I think I'm gonna respec one of the party people we have. We're a little bit too wizard heavy right now.
Too many wizards.
Yeah.
Okay, you see this path here?
Mm-hmm.
What's hiding here?
Come down here. All the way down here.
Curious.
You think that means
Ever
it's
been here
legally
before?
Sunday today? I don't remember if I
Looks like all
have.
those moon plates can be turned.
So this is a puzzle. And you have to get all 4 black dots on the same circle. Specifically the one under the light.
Uh-huh. That's fun. A puzzle.
There is like a button somewhere as well.
Gail, could you move your ass? Can't see the thing. Can't see the puzzle. I like the brain puzzle they have later on where you have to connect the emotion and memory and motor stuff.
Right.
That one's way
I remember
easier
that.
if you know a little bit of brain science and then a lot of stuff crosses from one side to the other at some point. Because for that one they make you zigzag them, which confuses a lot of people when they try to do
Yeah.
a puzzle.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely had to feel my way through that.
Mm-hmm. We need to split off one of these. Split off one of these. Dark ones. Gonna turn it around here. You have to do this puzzle to get into the Underdark?
Yeah, it'll open up a door over here.
I can't believe I've never done this. Weird.
Well, if you we already raided like the courtyard, right, with all the goblins in it.
Yeah.
So one of them actually has a diary, and it actually mentions that there is something under the castle. I guess it's a temple, under the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first hint you get that there's something down here. So this is what that something is, if you do kind of pursue that.
This goes very far down.
Let's go.
We'll have to go in to see the bottom.
He's a puzzle maniac.
So you've been to the Underdark, right?
Yes. Have.
Yeah. So do you remember they had that fortress with the big gate in it that
Yeah.
zaps the centaur?
Yeah.
So this actually goes into that.
Okay. Is there a like fast travel point down there? Because it might make sense for us to just grab that.
Actually, there is.
Yeah, let's go down there and get that. Ooh, there's a cinematic even going down the ladder.
It's a long ladder.
True. It's the
Did
temple
you
of
ever read
Seduna.
all of the? Did you ever read all of like the books and diaries down here in this fortress?
No.
It actually tells a pretty fun story. Well, maybe not fun, but it tells a cool story about how it got built and what happened to the people that built it. Oh, that's right. They've got all these barrels
Flick
down
of the
here.
wrist.
20 DC gateway. What? Oh, come on. That's crazy. Let's try again. I'm a +3. Ugh! Oh my god, he's a beast. Gets a 20. Incredible. Better be good loot in here. Why am I encumbered from opening a door? I learned the mark things as wares thing from you.
Oh, whoa, whoa, oh, oh,
Huckleberry
no.
throws
Oh, cool.
another 10. Let's heckin' go.
Oh.
Let's see. Do I have? No. There's got to be a backpack around here somewhere.
Thank you, sire, for the throwdown of 10 gifted. You're encumbered, oh no. They're always in
Yeah,
permajail.
I'm sending all the.
You're sending what?
I'm sending all the barrels back to camp.
Cool. He's a barrel mancer.
Hey, it's useful, especially for those tougher fights.
Mm-hmm.
At least the ones you can kind of set up for anyway.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is so beautiful. Yo, moon goddess stuff, sign me up. It's the coolest vibe. Stinky orcs, pass. Dwarves, pass. Elves, now we're talking. Moon elves, alright, real shit.
I saw you playing Tyrande and Hots earlier.
Hell yeah, dude.
You would play Tyrande, wouldn't you?
I would, I absolutely would. I'll play Toronto right now. Burn with the goddess's light, motherfucker. That's what I'm saying. I don't mess around. Oh, the Minotaur outside. Oof. Oof, that was a mistake. Oof. No way he's getting through that. Oof. Oh, the portcullis is halfway busted, though.
Get hit by that.
Okay. So we got the...
I think we'll be okay.
How do we turn off the zapping?
We don't really need to.
No.
We can just go around. Like, there's an open window on the side that you climb down.
Oh, yeah, I see it
Although,
over here.
we might not want to do that just yet. Because there's a, what do you call it?
A
Big
petrified...
eye monster thing.
Oh, really? A spectator?
That's what it's called. There's one of those down there. I don't know
Really?
if we're ready for that yet.
What
Oh
level
yeah,
are we?
it's a tough fight.
We're level 4. Yeah, that would be kind of hard to scratch. Oh my god.
Yeah, so we might want to just fast travel.
Want to fast travel and like get
else.
Karlak or something?
Yeah, I just wanted to show this to you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Blighted Village. Read chat, learn from my mistakes. The iron thing with a spectator in it, you didn't know there was a spectator. You thought you captured in the Underdark in a Pokeball. Now there are 2 of them. Anyway, you're dead. What? You threw the iron flask at the spectator and then there were 2 of them. That's fucking hilarious. Were you streaming that? Wow. He had the best of intentions. The very best.
Somebody learned the hard way.
Oh shit, yeah, that's the Pokeball, bro. Okay, let's get Karlak. I think we're also world famous for clearing out the goblin leaders. Oh shit, I left them in the fucking... Fuck. You're screenshotting it now.
Oops.
That's pretty funny. I think I want to...
Well, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
You've a particular
Go ahead.
way with words,
Go ahead.
Gale. Perhaps orations.
well, I was just going to say, you know, Trisha was saying during your Sunday thing that she wanted to do a cryomancer build.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually reminded me that was something I'd thought about earlier and forgot about. So I actually started up a new playthrough, specifically with the sorcerer cryomancer in mind.
Nice.
I also respect Shadowheart as a monk, because that was another thing I wanted to do.
One true way.
And that created chain reaction, because I still wanted a cleric, so that I could have poison protection. So I respect Asterion as my cleric.
It's funny whenever you see the characters different from their default roles, because a lot of people never respect the characters in anything else. So you really think of Shadowheart as a cleric, you think of Asterion as a rogue, but they can be respected in anything.
Oh yeah.
Shadowheart rip Bazel? No, we have Lae'zel. We killed Shadowheart because of the chat's vote. It was brutal.
Right.
Yep, they fought in the night, and I rolled too low of a persuasion to change their mind. So we can go get Karlak now.
You know, we could go down Do we want to do the bridge? I guess we're already here, but there is another way to do that. There's a crossing you can jump. That's down, I
My
guess,
condition is worsening again.
east of where we are.
I need to consume some powerful magic or it may become
Yeah, I
volatile.
like fighting through the hyenas because they give you potions of speed ingredients. Just fight,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, just fight through them. Here's a helmet, bro. Hope it makes you feel better.
Thank you. It is somehow the second artifact hasn't had the
Wait, how
effect
did I
of
end
the
up out
first.
here?
I'm not so. Thank you.
Sorry, I got behind the play somehow.
So the hyenas are all to
Oh,
the right.
can you ask chat who won the hockey game? It must be over by now.
Oh yeah, who won the hockey game?
Who won the Stanley Cup? Game 7.
Yeah.
Always room for more.
There's a book over here. Okay. Let's kick some hyena butt. Who's the purple guy? I never seen him before. The person in the purple robe, that's Gale. The blue character is the character I made. Tiefling Warlock. Okay.
Something tore right through these people. They didn't stand a chance.
Alright. So for these ones, I feel like doing...
Beast, you hear what comes next before you see it. The sharp snapping of bones.
They're
and a
gonna
yelp of
turn
pain as
into
her body
gnolls.
starts to twist and undulate.
Oh, look.
You land a swift strike against her skull. Whatever horrific creature was.
Do you want me to
growing
initiate, or
Oh, we're in.
oh, works too? Ah, shit.
Okay, that one's gonna run to try to get to the other group, so we want to take that one out first. It's got 15 HP.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make sure I'm not pushing it away from us. I put on non-lethal just in the off chance that stuff doesn't die. We can be slightly less murderous. And can I jump over this? No, I can't move all the way there. Alright. Can also do this.
15.
Sweet.
That hyena will
Hopefully
be
he
back.
slips.
It won't be alone.
With ease.
He can do. Ray of Frost to slow it. Okay, or he could just miss. That's also something.
Critical miss.
Not only did you missed in such a glorious fashion that many people questioned your ability to be a wizard.
Let's see, how do I guess I could help you with this.
Oh, we have Crab, I forgot. Crab is the main character of our campaign.
Just jump. He's had a very strong showing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Swami
how do
Sri
I-
Key.
Oh,
Oh! Nice. Cool.
yeah. Am I still non-lethal? I am.
So he's
Am I
king.
supposed to be non-lethal?
I don't think it matters. Like, they don't wake up and fight us again, so we can still loot them. We still get the XP.
Oh shit.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I
right into
have
that.
more grease from.
Oh, and I. Oh fuck.
That's okay. We can work with this.
I did not mean to do that.
Are you raging yet?
This is gonna be rough.
Are you raging?
I'm not. I didn't think I would need to because I didn't think we were gonna fight these guys yet.
You need to rage now. They'll hit you for less the sooner you do.
I can't. I jumped. I didn't have the bonus
Oh, right.
ability.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot. Okay, good luck.
Good luck.
Try to kill the little ones next to us, I think, if you can, and let them run down to us.
Yeah, that's plan A.
does that do? Soul numbed. Can't take bonus actions or reactions. Oh shit.
Oh, really? No bonuses?
Is it a concentration? It is a
rage.
concentration. We could break his concentration. Let me try first.
One day, I'll catch a break.
All right.
Force damage is usually pretty good. I'm gonna turn on my pushback on my spells. I'm gonna try to be pushing these foul ruffians away from us. Break concentration. Fuck. Potion of speed. I'm going crazy. Ah, well, at least he got pushed away. That one wakes up. I'm going to put a grease above that fire so we can retreat downward and they'll slip on their way down. Here.
I could just put a little extra distance.
Yeah, I needed more space there. They still have to run through fire. It's not bad. Good point, though. The circles can't be touching. Alright. Alright, Lae'zel.
This is your
Let's
end.
make it happen. Okay. That also. Welcome. He's dazed. Great. Crab, no!
Why are they going after a crab?
Guess they don't like crabs.
Oh, it's gone. Okay, I can use bonuses again. I
Nice.
think the fire did it.
Oh, cool. Are there any different dialogues if you're non-lethal? Some characters return to the story if you don't kill them.
Behind it.
It's a very small number of characters, but there are some characters that will return if you don't kill them.
Alright, let's do this.
Yeah, he's raging now.
Yeah.
This flaming sword.
Alright, that's all I got. So I'm gonna try to bleed a little distance and let Lae'zel take some damage for me. Look at all that movement speed. See? That's why I have that helmet.
Yep. He has the momentum. Okay.
Alright. I'm gonna pop a potion instead of throwing something. Oh, we don't have any. Alright.
Check this out, Chrono Madness.
Think you can take me on?
14 damage
Nice.
cantrip. Okay.
Fools these mortals be.
It's right next to us. We have a bunch of level 2 spells. Just get a bit of damage, maybe get this one.
Time to strike.
He tried.
Spellcasters.
He tried. Weakening strike.
Don't forget about this guy coming up behind us.
Yeah. I have Crown of Madness on the far guy, so he should attack another knoll.
Okay. You want me to handle the guy in the rear, or do you want me to go for these two?
Get the guy in the rear first.
Alright. They're coming for me. This isn't gonna work.
Hellish Rebuke. I want to do that. No, it's fine.
Yeah, we don't have anything but minor potions, so
Let me see if we have a big potion. I have a
didn't
potion
see
of greater
any.
healing. I sent you one.
you do?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Let's see. There it is. Alright. It's not gonna do too much, but every little bit helps. Alright, how do I want to do this? Let's make him bleed. Oh, 60%? Oh, you know what? I need to. All right. I would have to do reckless attack, but then they're going to have advantage on me.
Yeah, Lae'zel's still healthy.
I'd rather hit him.
Yeah. I like the aggression. Oh, 14 damage. That's good.
Let's see. I can't do anything else.
Crown of Madness. What's he gonna do? Oh, he didn't really attack. Weird. Okay, this dude behind us. Frighten them. What does this do? Should I frighten them or charm them? I wonder what the range. Oh, this is not a huge radius. Can I move a little bit this way and get them in my range?
I think you'll take an attack penalty since the other guy's so close.
Yeah. I have fancy moves though.
Nice. Now I do have cleave available, so if you can try to maneuver Lae'zel so that I have a clear shot there, I can get more than one in one swing.
Swift and lethal.
Victory is assured.
This guy.
Yeah, I don't need you to move her like completely, but just move her like a little bit north.
You got him.
Nice.
Crazy moves. Can you heal back up?
Oh god,
Oh,
here
it
we
didn't
go.
let me move Lae'zel.
Boo.
Crown of Madness. He attacks a friendly. Nice. Sick. Okay.
False Lae'zel.
Yep.
I think that's going to end my rage, isn't it?
No, it does not end your rage.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
He is up.
Thank you, sir.
I am fury. I am
Okay.
death.
Just gonna hit him normally. Second one is good here too.
I must heal.
This looks like a tough fight.
Oh,
It's
there we
actually
go.
2 fights. But they're right next to each other.
Yeah, because I was an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. You were just
I did not mean to trigger that.
You were not scoring well in your perception check. That's all.
Oh, I don't have... Oh my god. I don't have an action.
It's okay.
Because
You
you
can
revived me.
menacingly stand over there.
Now I can throw something at them. And I might be able to kill them because I've got all the damage bonuses. So let's see.
Got him.
I really wanted the cleave, though.
I won't give
That's what I
in.
was thinking. I had gunner vision on the cleave.
Yeah.
I think I could run away from this guy. Yeah, no reaction. Damn, Lae'zel doing work.
Yep. That reaction attack is really good.
That's why I find it so hard to keep her out of my party. She's always in, even when I didn't mean for her to be.
Rough tempest I will raise.
Fighter is very strong. Okay, what is what is he have? Wrap.
I will ascend.
I think we've salvaged this. Probably.
2 archers still pretty high up. Got a couple spells. Okay. I think I will. I'll help you up with Gale. Shoot this person.
Almost.
Pretty close.
I don't fancy their chances.
Does he have any bonus action stuff? Let's get you. How many healing potions do I have? Like 5. Okay. Gale. Sports. What? How?
Yes. You didn't get it close enough.
Jeez.
Fucking Gale. Leave it to Gale.
He tried.
Alright.
Okay. Does Zell survive?
Nope.
Okay. Crab. Well, they overkilled Crab by like 15 damage. It's actually pretty efficient for us.
Well, that suits our purposes.
Gale. Alright, here's your target. Swami Suki. Throw the healing potion at him. Great, it worked!
Thank you, sir.
Now back up. Remember, you don't have an action right
So
now.
much for peace.
Oh, check out this.
Seems like the best way.
Yes! Okay, everyone can back up now, and they should friendly firefight each
Light
other.
on my feet.
So just back up and let the archer shoot the other archer. Yeah! Let's go! He betrayed him.
Well done, sir. Alright. Okay, now I'm definitely not raging. And let's see. Do I have anything? No. Alright, I'm just gonna pop a potion then and leave. If he comes down, I'll throw something at him and knock him down. And I'm just gonna get downed again if I stay over there.
Okay.
That was a nice Crown of Madness.
Thanks. It's a fun ability, especially when you got a bunch of enemies clumped up next to each other. Makes their numbers less of a asset. And their numbers are betraying one another.
What was the probability on that?
It was like 65%, 70%. Their int is very low, and their chaw is very low. Let me see what save they need for it.
Oof.
Oh. Okay, he's hurting.
Should I pick him up?
Yeah, you
Can I
could.
pick him up? Oh, I don't think it'll. I don't think I have the
You don't have the
distance.
movement.
The movement. Yeah, it's can't reach destination. I can get like right next to him, but it says, oh wait, there we go. I just have to point it at his foot.
Yeah. You got him.
There we go.
Action economy. This guy's got 18 HP.
All right, I can't throw anything though without the rage, and I'd rather another one of these. You're right next to a fire wine barrel.
My Eldritch Blast is force damage. I don't think I'll light it.
Oh, I mean, I'm more worried about him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in case he gets it.
If he has a fire arrow, then we're going to be in trouble.
Nice roll in my favor.
Okay, Gale's gonna back up.
Onward.
He can also sip a potion. We definitely need to go to the stove and get some potions before our next fight. Okay, he's got a potion. Oh, he's still alive. Nice.
All right. Now I can definitely throw something at this guy. How about a nice axe?
Ooh, 12 damage. Pretty good.
All right. Do we have any rests left?
Like short rests?
Short rest, yeah.
Yeah.
Gnolls are everywhere.
City is saved. Okay, let's short rest real quick.
That took the edge off.
Have some HP. We won the fight. Amazing. I think we can make push into speed with these.
Oh, the hyena
ears.
ears, yeah.
Yeah.
Open up.
Ooh, there's a long sword in this. Someone gave him a good fight. Another hyena ear. These are very aggressive creatures. Three potatoes.
If you need to lose weight, just getting rid of the supply bag stuff is generally the easiest, fastest way.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we cleared this way up here. I should probably look to sell. Might be able to find some more hyena ears. There are more hyenas up here, so we do need to be kind of careful. Not go too far up.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Yeah, we don't want to.
How are you on
fight.
spells?
As a warlock, I recharged. Gale has
Way to the nearest light.
almost full ammo, so we're pretty good. Pretty good on spells at the moment. We do need to.
Do like a
I think we need to go to the
Shouldn't have
store
wished to live
because
in
we
more
have
interesting times.
pretty low consumes. We don't have very many healing.
Oh, you
potions.
mean like the Grove?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Let's go loot. There's some supplies over here. We have camp supplies. 696 supply. That's really good. We've been very supply efficient so far.
Anything of use?
Someone made short work of these gnolls.
Oh, it's this
Made it
cart
look
here that
easy
has all
too.
the squash and
Someone
stuff.
to be reckoned with.
Look at all these fruits and vegetables. 4 apples. Cool. Who would you prefer in party between Gale and Lae'zel if we get Karlak in?
Lae'zel,
Okay,
no contest.
fair enough.
It's always going to be Lae'zel.
I'll have a talk with Gale.
Go ahead. I'm listening. I question the wisdom of that decision, but so be it. I'll be in the...
Okay. Okay. Karlak, over here. She's like, ow!
Seems like a good
Those
moment to
paladins were picking on me. Don't worry, we'll help you. Fire! Are you from Elturel?
Me? I wish. Met some of the Elturians who got trapped in the hells, though.
Tiefling
They did less
specific
time than
dialogue
me,
options.
but no easier. Oh, fuck me. It's you, from the Nautiloid. Please tell me I found you before those so-called paladins of Tyr did. Good.
A great heat, then you're lost in visions of demonic armies, the Blood War. You saw it from above
Blood
as the
War.
Nautiloid passed through Avernus. This woman was on the front line.
Oh, that's right. We don't have Will in the party.
Was that?
Oh yeah.
I
I
almost
think
always
he.
get like his dialogue.
Yeah.
I'm Karlak.
I think he joins the party pretty
well,
soon. Like next time we long rest.
Zariel's the latest yappy little dog she
Automatically?
sicked on me nearby. Fuck.
I thought you just had to talk to him in that little training area.
You can get him at that
You'd
point,
be a
but if
fool
you
to
don't get him
refuse
at that
her.
point, he will show up at the camp tonight, I think.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Right. We can probably do the paladin fights with what we have.
It's a bit optimistic.
Do you want to run double
wake you up for
barbarian,
fine
or
day
have
once.
Karlak be something else? Do you care?
Do I care?
No.
It's up to you.
Okay.
I'm giving Neuro the wheel.
Yeah, he said he was not to be trusted with companion choices and stuff.
You saw what happened with the hyenas. Alright, well, if we are going to fight, then I'm going to pop another potion.
Okay.
There we go. And let me know when you're about to initiate, because I'm going to do the rage just before. Because I have such shit initiative, then he's going to hit me before I get a chance to do the rage otherwise. And that one paladin in there hits like a truck.
Yep, that's true. Okay, Karlak is now a wolf barbarian. So you get advantage on the targets near her, which is very good for melee.
I think... No, I think aid is something that clerics have, right? The spell aid.
Yes.
I've been playing around with that recently. I don't keep a cleric in my party, but I will have them cast aid on everybody, just so that they can have it, since it's a permanent condition.
Cool.
Things well that ends
Aid is strong.
not as bad as it could have.
Aid, poison protection, dark vision I've started using more
At the
recently.
ready.
Just for anybody who doesn't have it already.
I pretty much always pick tiefling or drow, so I have dark vision. So the dude
Ward
hits...
bond is really fun.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. So there's this paladin lady here. Excuse me, ma'am. I was really taking interest in this view over here. It seems pretty nice. Just want to be careful of where you're stepping here. Oh shit. Didn't work. She didn't care. She just walks away. She was like, that lady was rude. And just leaves. Okay, I think it's better if we attack from the
That
top.
works.
No traps, please.
Soul coin. This thing tripped me out the first time I got it. This like balcony area is super loud, and it's just a soul coin that's on the ground. There's a
Oh,
loot
yeah, I
book behind
remember
the
that.
barrel.
But that will fit in my
Pleasurable
bag.
deal, it's called.
Seems simple enough.
Alright, we have pretty much full ammo.
That's a
Let's
friendly looking
sneak,
shadow.
walk people in. We are invisible for now.
The gnolls out there.
Nothing we need to worry about.
How about a dragon? Would that worry you?
I'd give it a bloody good fight, that's for sure.
Only thing
Okay,
you
just
give
give me the
a
heads up when you're about to start.
Are you ready? Let's see.
Not yet. Okay, I am... Wait. Oh, I can only rage in combat. Never
Yeah.
mind. So just go ahead whenever.
Okay. We're gonna go with the funny strategy here.
That should work.
They don't even see us! They're hostile against this person that I put Crown of Madness on. That's interesting.
Are they?
Yeah, I don't know. Did they see
Oh, I'm not
Lazo?
in combat yet. No, they don't see me or Lazo.
Okay, I think we just lay low and let them resolve this for a second. I'm gonna walk down and hide.
Just out of
It
view.
suits me.
Okay. Let's see what happens. Mirror images herself, fine. Oh, she's coming up behind us. I don't know if she sees us though. Oh yeah, she sees Lizzo. Lizelle, not very stealthy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Is that how he treats his employees? Sheesh. Are we out of combat? Oh, she went back. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Okay, wait. She's gonna walk through. Maybe she doesn't patrol in here. Okay, so it is just this guy now. I wonder if I can sneak by him. I have pretty high dex, I think. Scratch, what are you doing? Stop.
Oh yeah, you could probably just walk right up to him, huh?
What? That didn't work. I'm gonna have to take a potato from him.
You've been caught red-handed. Hopefully you're a better fighter than you are a pickpocket.
Okay, he's gonna fight me now. I tried to steal his potato and he got mad. He doesn't see you. You could attack him.
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
That's the plan.
I distracted him by grabbing at his potato. Holy shit!
Nice.
Wow, Legacy of Venice.
I didn't know you had that.
Yeah, that's a tiefling special right there. Oof.
Might be useful.
Okay, so it's just a lady out there?
Come on, can't stay idle.
Yep. The door is closed, so she's gonna have to come to us.
We still have Lizelle and can Carlac do hardly anything.
Got it.
Ah! Wait, where'd she go? She's on the porch, I guess?
She's still outside.
Born for this.
Can we close the door?
Victory awaits.
Oh, yeah.
Within reach.
There we go.
What? There's no one in here.
I'm under the shadows.
She dashes.
Yeah, there's nothing else she can do.
Oh,
There we
that's
go.
really
Now we can
bad.
just wail on her.
Wow. This is
Alright,
the
I don't have
easiest
the
this
action,
fight has
though.
been for me. Crown of Madness, get the boss to kill one of the goons.
Oh, that's right. That takes an action.
If you're not
I
raging,
could
yeah.
rage. That's the best I can do.
If you equip a crossbow before ending the fight, then she won't break
forever,
everything.
pal.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
I wonder if this is worth
Good
the
call.
cost.
All right.
Wait, what now?
Carlac blasts through this place and breaks a bunch of stuff. After the
Oh,
fight to
right.
let off some steam, but if you put a crossbow in her hands, apparently she won't. She has to have a melee
Interesting.
weapon.
Time to strike.
There's always something new to learn about this game.
Yep.
Or you
Nice. Psh. You can't hold me. This rapier looks awesome. Is this a sword that I have?
Blood comes easy these days.
Pact bound. Oh, it's the magical one. That's why it hits so hard.
And if any of Mummy's little friends want to pick up where the others left off, they'll find nothing but a... Not...
I don't know, dude. She's still looking pretty pissed to me. Hey, that burlap sack! It had berries in it. Karlach, stop.
I'm done. I can't wait to sleep.
Oh, that's not too bad. Are we gonna do the secret room under here?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Keep going.
Whenever you're done, Karlach. Seems like home renovation is her love language. It's much worse with a melee
That went
weapon.
really well.
Yeah, most of the place is still intact. Oh, this person made a loot. We loot the main dude. Yep, okay, cool. He had a two-handed sword. We should probably give one of those. What is happening? Karlach was very upset about being hunted by these paladins, so after defeating said paladins, she wanted to destroy their establishment and their home base of operations.
She was very upset.
Yeah.
Very much
Do you
so.
need a short rest?
Do I'm good. I didn't take any damage, so I'm fine.
Okay.
What path
We
lies
don't have to
before
fight
me?
anything down here. It's
Let's
just
have a look.
looting and a puzzle.
Nice. I still got my rocks.
Looting these, looting those. She made sure to shoot every piece of furnishing with her crossbow. Yep.
Anything of use?
Fuck this cupboard. Fuck this pouch. Fuck this wooden barrel. Fuck this open crate. Oh, can you help lockpick this door? Are you down here now?
Let's see, you're downstairs. Let's see.
No one stopped me yet.
Slashing.
Nice.
There we
24
go.
damage. Keep chipping away.
Hang on. It's not doing anything. Attack. I keep clicking attack.
Yeah, he got it.
There you go.
Swift as my feet
Alright, I'm
can
gonna
carry
trust
me.
you to handle all that business.
It's okay, I failed all my perception checks, so I have to do this from memory. Walk into the room, fail 3 perception checks. You know something's going on, but you don't know what it is. Scratch.
Let me contribute my perception failure. Yeah.
Trap.
There you go. I helped a little.
Something over there.
Oh, some gems and jewels. They have a lot of loot for just being some normal paladins.
Well, this was the customs house, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this was like the storage area for all the stuff that they held on to when somebody didn't pay their tariff. Or maybe if a merchant just needed a place to hold it for a while.
You know, I wasn't paying attention, didn't know that. So, we learned.
I read all of the things my first playthrough.
Really? That's pretty badass. Chat, what percentage of the things do you read in this game? On average. I would say
Watch how you go.
my
There's a
first
trap.
playthrough I read relatively more of the notes and stuff that you just find randomly, but still maybe
Trap.
like 5% or
cautious.
less. What's in this glass?
I'll take that.
There's a carafe of wine. Okay.
Wait, how was it these traps activated?
Oh, you step on them.
Was that all?
Yeah. Don't step on them.
Fair enough.
If you can sit in one of those chairs, then Don't make Carlac go through.
In the chair.
Strategic sitting, something I can excel at.
We need you to sit in that chair. Can do. Not his hardest task. Okay, so we looted the room. I will sit in this chair. And then
Hey, good looking.
Carlac will
Soldier?
loot this stuff. Perception failed. There's one trap on the floor. Jump over it. And then we loot stuff. 2 gold. Okay. Studded shield. Great sword. What percentage of books did I read in Oblivion or Skyrim? I think more, probably like 20% or something.
I was also a completionist there.
Nice.
It takes a while, but you know, it's fun. Get a little extra context for everything. And some of the stories are pretty funny.
The story's awesome. The
I
whole
was talking
dragon.
more about lusty Argonian maid, but yeah,
Oh!
Skyrim is pretty awesome.
Oh, that one. $212 in this. Great
What's
axe
this?
+1. Quarterstaff. Great sword. We're gonna be relatively wealthy whenever we get to a merchant. For now, we are just carrying a whole bunch of shit. Okay. Did I get
I'm fine
everything in
with that.
here? There's studded shield, book in a pouch. Carafe. Oops. Book. Shield. Oh. Did you do that?
Yeah, I got the music box from earlier.
Ah. Okay. I think we
Ready
can
to roll?
leave. Yep. Alright. And no one died.
Can't give up now.
Cool music box. Do you know you can use sausage as a blunt weapon? You can dip it in fire and have it be a spicy sausage melee weapon. That's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we got Carlac. We can just teleport back to Emerald Grove. Sell for a bit.
Okay.
Moving in.
And then maybe... have you fought the hag? Do you want to fight the hag or fight someone else?
That's tough. Are we ready for that?
Yes. We are very strong and we are very melee heavy, which makes that fight relatively easier.
My only request is that we get poison protection for everybody,
Sure.
because most of her damage is poison based.
Sure.
If there's fighting, you run, and you do not stop. For anything.
What's in here?
We're all getting ready for a journey.
A scout just reported. The goblins' leadership has been decimated. We might escape this place yet. I took a collection from all of us. It isn't much, but you've earned it.
Do we take coin when people offer us a reward, or are we super nice?
Up to you. I generally do good playthroughs, but whatever floats your boat.
It's not necessarily not good to accept a reward from the town.
True. I won't dispute that.
Your response is very monk-like. We'll let them keep
Very
it this
good.
time.
Halsin will likely
We're
want
pretty
to thank
rich.
you too, mind.
And they're
I believe he's
refugees,
catching
so-
up with Korga. As
I'm
for
just a
us,
barbarian. What do I
No
know?
but perhaps we need not speak of
I was
farewell.
living
Yeah.
out in the woods before all this
We'll
happened.
join your camp tonight.
It does say something about your
Don't
character
even know.
that you're not jonesing for the coin that he's offering us. A lot of adventurers will be
I
like,
don't need it. I just live off the land.
Yeah, not really trying to live in high society.
High society won't have me.
So whatever you want as wares. I don't know if you're selling already. You want me to
No,
sell
I'm
with
waiting
my
for you
high
because you've
char?
got the highest charisma. Yeah. Oh, but I can transfer you all this
So
stuff.
it's true.
Yeah.
You scattered the
So
goblin.
you can trade
As
that.
am I. And I'm sure, of course.
I've got more on the way. Yeah. Okay. Oh wait, a little more. And I sent it to Lae'zel instead.
Oops.
Well, I think you can still get it from her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should be able just to add wares, and then you can sell that.
Oh.
Or one or the other.
We need to buy some stuff from him so we can sell more to him.
Oh,
you
so
said
you
you
got
want-
cash.
He had a little bit. I'm seeing if he has any poison resist or anything.
Well, we can just go and do the other guy. Because he's still got cash, I think.
Oh, damn. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, it's still good for us to know if he has... Let's get some potions from him. Okay, we got 5 small potions. We can buy some camp supplies. Okay, now we can sell a lot more to him.
Yeah, Damon still has 696 gold.
Nice. Yeah, we should be able to sell most all of what we picked up then. And keep some of the water, because we need to throw water to put out the fire if we want to save the character. Shit.
Do we have anybody with a shield?
Yeah,
that
Lae'zel's
uses
is one.
shields?
Lae'zel
They've
is,
got
but I'm
a
probably
safeguard shield. Sorry, go ahead.
Lae'zel has one, but I was thinking of maybe respecking her. Because now we have 2 barbarians and a fighter. Cool. This guy's pretty much out of money. Sweet. Lae'zel's holding some random crap too. Okay. This vendor is broke. Let's go to the other vendor.
Broke ass vendor.
Yep. He has a bunch of random weaponry though. Wait, what?
Do you have access to my gold?
I don't
Or
think
do we
so.
just have a common pot?
When we were
Like, how
playing
much
this,
gold do you have?
2.8k.
Okay.
As a
Separate
team,
pots then.
yeah, it looks like it's separate. You have 364, so if you need anything, let me know.
No,
not-
no,
wish I
I'm
had
good.
better.
I was just going to
But
buy a
this is all I
die
have.
Mhm.
because I'm feeling fashionable today.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
This game really does degenerate into just dolls sometimes.
Hey, the drip is a very important part of many video games. What do I have for... The default...
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were waiting for me.
That's all good. The default Minthar armor is so good. Don't even need to change it. Already goes with my characters like blue.
Thought
I spent the
Listen
devils
stuff.
were delighted.
I got lucky.
Oh, I think you can fix her a
My
little
guess-
bit.
I might be able that.
Will you be?
I'd worry.
Hey, soldier. I think we picked up some of that infernal iron already. What say you? Should I give it to him?
Please let this.
Pleasure. Find me
Yeah,
and
he
take
installed a
care,
little bit of
Connor.
stuff. I don't know if it actually buffs her in there, but I think it's good
You
for the
saved us.
story.
I wish I had better. But
We
this is
gave
all I have.
him some infernal iron to fix her up a little bit. He didn't really have anything crazy good, I don't think.
Have you ever been to the kids' secret hideout?
No.
I can show you that.
Sure. Oops. Almost done sitting.
Take your time.
The vendors in this town are broke. We've brought them too much business. They simply cannot keep up. Okay, so I'm running over to you.
Yeah, so I don't see the kids here anymore, so I guess we triggered an event that makes them go away. But if you talk to them, they'll show this to you if you can do a check, basically.
Huh.
So right here where these rocks are is where it is, but you can't use it unless they explicitly show it to you.
Gotcha.
But what you can do is you can come down here, and you can go into this hole down here. Do you have disguise?
No.
Okay. So one of the weird things about the game is that if you're too big to fit into a hole, you can disguise as a small creature, like a dwarf or a halfling, and you can fit in.
Huh. Cool. Didn't know that.
It's kind of weird, but it does work.
Agent Smith knows all the cool hidden places. Yep.
You deserve to be banished.
Then banished.
And I assume we're going to pass on the harpies again.
Instead,
Oh yeah, we can fight the harpies.
You chose to abandon us.
Are we ready for that?
As you
Yes,
wish,
we are.
Master Halcyon.
All right.
I think
Let's see.
you should turn her over to my kin for judgment. Bad blood still lingers. I have a tiefling specific option here. I wonder if he would accept that. Huh.
spilled blood will not right bad blood.
Okay, so he just
Allow me to
refuses
deal
that,
with
but...
You will soon see the Grove stand. I am Halcyon, first druid of the Emerald Grove. And... it's... how is this... As for what you've done to the
dark
Grove,
druid thing
speak
in the
to
Grove?
Wrath. He will see to your reward.
Have we done the what?
The dark druid thing, that's one of the possible avenues the story can take.
I don't know what that is.
Cursed to put my hands on
Dark
everything.
druid.
Yeah, I've played the game like 3 or 4 times, at least through Act 1, and I've never managed to get it. I think because I'm just not doing it in the right order. Doing stuff in the right order.
You done?
But you can find evidence that she's
taking on
working
a
with dark
camp full of
druids, and then you
goblins
can
was
bring
a
that back
simple
and confront
task.
her, apparently.
Getting the reward from the dude. We place this rune of the wolf in the wolf area. Empty socket. Let's put this rune of the wolf in it. Lot of mud. Bing, bing. Bing, bong. You have to have a druid in the party or it won't work, he says. Oh.
Really? Okay. That makes sense. We never did clear out those goblins that are next to the grove.
Ooh, lots of healing potions. Nice.
You ever using sorrow before?
Beautiful glaive.
I
So
don't
why
know if
does
I've used
touching it give me a knot in my stomach?
Resistance to cold. Okay. We got the reward. Huzzah. Do you want to use sorrow? Is it better than your weapon?
No. No, I don't think so.
Okay. Let's go beat up the harpies.
I've thought about using it before,
Magic.
but I never end up using it.
We actually don't really need long rests with this party loadout.
Really?
I think maybe for a few select things like my Legacy of Avernus or whatever, but fighter recharges on a short rest, I think. Warlock spells recharge. Oh, you need to long rest for rages though. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's fight some harpies.
And you've got the spells, right?
Yep. Okay, scratch.
I've been mangled in this fight so many times.
Yeah. It's a tricky one.
Let's see. Saving?
Yeah, it auto saves and walk up here.
Still breathing, despite it.
Oh, right.
Just because it knows a lot of people will die.
One day I'll catch a break.
So the thing that has worked the best for me for this harpy fight is to take this high ground over to the right and then to pull them up to us. Because a lot of them will stand way back there and just sing. We don't need to go down into that. That's down in their area. We have a high ground position up here. So if we like... Oh, okay.
That is an excellent idea.
At least our position is good. So we can even hide behind trees and stuff too, which is nice. Scratch is invisible there. Okay, you haven't been revealed yet, so you can initiate whenever you want.
I was just going to wait for him to come up here.
Yep, that's fair.
So whenever you're ready.
They're flying up. Throw returning pike, 80%.
Got it.
11 damage, 10 damage! Wow, and it returned.
Nice.
Bring it on. Come on up here, what you got? What you got? Hey, it's a little bit more damage.
Still on my feet.
What about one of these? Can I not see them?
No angle?
No, it's not letting me. Ah, kind of is.
Magic missile. Yeah, this is definitely an ideal magic missile scenario.
Yeah.
Oof. Wait, what did they hit you with?
They threw a rock at me.
Of course, I'm last again.
Nah. Get him.
All right.
Oh, your clothes are so colorful now. You're just wearing like a basic white and brown.
Yeah, I went with sea green. I don't know how the purple got in there.
Yeah. I think that's the blood. The shirt looks blue with red blood on it, so it looks more purple. Nice. 18 damage.
Alright. I'm going to come over here and try to tank for you.
Come on over, silly birds.
Easier.
Swift and lethal.
High ground is a very strong thing.
Oh, yeah. What? You get a bonus for it, right?
Yep.
To attack.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shit.
Don't fall prey to their charms.
Of course. They're so hot, though.
He couldn't resist the hot lady. That's
We
fair.
lost the dot. Did we lose everybody?
No. You're the only one who fell prey to their charms.
You're all red.
Yeah, that's because you're hostile to us temporarily. You've decided to live life as a harpy person now. It's -4 HP if she jumps down. She's raging now. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Oh, exactly the damage we needed.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
But I'm still lured. I guess it's a different one that has me.
You know,
Must be
one of the
ones down
things
there.
that I've always found to really make it hard to sing your song and focus on it is grenades.
In my best interest.
What? She sings through a grenade? Get out of town.
Oh, they're pros. Been doing this a long time.
Now I'm gonna join them because I'm like, they can sing through grenades. That's clearly the better team.
Stay out of my head.
Okay, we saved.
Oh. Okay, I rolled my way out of it.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I'm probably going to end up back lured though.
Can you have a potion before you are?
I don't think it's going to make a lot of difference, but yeah, I can pop a potion of healing. But I could use the ranged attack and a throw, and that'll do more damage. So would you rather have more damage, or would you rather have me heal?
More damage, because you have a chance to interrupt the song if you hit her.
All right, who's singing? This one.
Purpley one, yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Oh shit, but I can't. I keep forgetting I have to be raging.
Yeah.
To do the rage throw.
Yeah.
And that's the one that takes the bonus action, but I can't. All right, so never mind. I just have to do the potion then.
And you'll shoot them like a normal person.
And then I'll run away. Good luck, Karlak. I'm the worst barbarian.
You're not the worst barbarian, you're just weak to women. It's fine. Happens.
That's the second fight in a row I've had some mental problem.
Yeah, but that's not your main stat. What is the save for this? Let's see. Singing. Does it say what save it is? Weird. When the doom music kicks in, Karlak jumps down. Jeez. She's very stubbornly singing this song. Can she get all the way over there? Not quite. She can shoot though.
Oof.
No. Maybe we should join the Hompies.
Ugh.
It would be so nice to live at the beach with the Hompies, wouldn't it? Let's just join their cause. Most compulsion effects are wisdom. Okay, this one's up here.
Oh god. Here we go. Yep.
Scratching itch.
Again. Giving me flashbacks. So many times I've had this happen.
Time to strike.
It's okay. Gonna get you out of there. Absolute's power, bludgeoning and force damage. Come on.
But there's only two left though.
Two left, yeah.
Yeah.
Bam! Yeah!
Yeah.
Your song is done.
I'm cheering you on while gurgling blood.
Can't even catch my breath.
We got you, bro. It's totally
I
fine.
need to find a way forward.
I am fury. I am death.
Okay. Scratch. Goes for the technical. Oh, nice saves.
Oh man.
This one is not as good of a singer as the other ones. Oi, shot it. We've had enough of it, alright?
What happened?
What happened?
Need to find
Well,
a way forward.
Swami Sriki and Domja joined the Harpies. Lazel and Karlak had to resolve the situation with the help of Scratch.
Goddamn bird bitches.
Yep, happens. I don't really have much for loot, but it's good XP. We'll get you a short rest. You look almost dead. You have to long rest.
Let's see. I think there's a secret chest around here.
Where is there?
Yeah, there's the harpy nest over here that has some stuff in it. And then there's a chest on the other side. So we'll snag all of that stuff.
Oh, I see it in the back there. Yeah.
Oh, we lost the kid. Forgot about him.
Yeah. I think it's if you don't go there before the Goblin City, he just ends up being killed by it.
I see.
46 gold in this chest. Is there another chest?
Let's see, is there a buried one somewhere over here? By the rocks in front of you?
I got one chest back here. I don't know if there's more than that.
Okay. So I think the other one is up here. It's up here. Oh? Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, go back to where you were. You're closer to it than me at this point. It's this thing over here.
Oh, I think it's hit.
So you gotta jump over here. And you go up here, and then you jump there.
My kind of Mario skills shit.
There you go.
Let's see what those harpies were hoarding.
Ring of color spray. Supply pack and 2 bones. Hey, not bad.
And the secret one is way over here.
Making me sweat.
I guess it's not really secret, it's just kind of out of the way.
Have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it. How much further can I go?
Nice. Got some good progress. Harpies down. We fought a lot of the gnolls. We're almost level 5. No, we're like halfway. 5.
Oh yeah, we still got a ways to go on that. So right here, we just jump to these pillars. And then you jump over here. And if you succeed the survival check...
Something over there.
There you go. Oh, but I don't... Oh, there it is.
He is a shovel.
Yeah. So there's a crossbow, silk gland, fire amber, and 30 gold. So where to now?
I think the next best spot for us to go XP wise would probably be either fighting the hag or starting to dip into the Underdark. Underdark is technically safer. If we wanted to be super safe, we could do hag at 5, but I normally do hag at 4. Main thing is you need magic missile. Best spell for it. Let's port to...
Yeah, it's very useful for her fight.
Yeah. We'll go to Blighted Village.
Well, regardless, we can kill the goblins that are next to the grove real quick. And that wouldn't take very long.
I smell
Where are you? Teleport.
Emerald Grove.
Don't know.
Take a day off once in a while, Lazel.
Which goblins do you mean?
It's the ones by the little secret entrance to the grove.
Did not know about that. Should probably rest first. You have 1 HP. We have no short rests.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, they're all having the festival and stuff now.
Is there anything we want to do with this?
If you want to talk to someone and ask them about you, you can. I don't remember what happens with that. Story-wise...
Sounds like a plan to me.
What's hiding here?
Oh, Lazel doesn't want to talk to me. Fine.
Fine. I see how it is.
No time for chat just now.
Yeah, I don't think any of them want to talk to me.
No, I guess it's this, like, main story stuff.
Buzz of celebration quiets to a soothing hum as you approach your bunk. You've picked up a few pleasant memories on your journey.
Go to bed alone.
You sleep alone, uplifted by memories of your...
I don't need Baldur's Gate 3 to show me what that's like.
I trust you enjoyed your evening. It may be some time before you're afforded an... I'm certain a cure for you can be found at Moonrise Tower. The journey...
He's certain a
We
cure
get
can
a
be
cure.
found for us.
And the chance to hit these arseholes where they live. Sounds good.
Wait. There's more you need to get
What
to
else
the
do we need to
towers.
know?
I think that's the earliest I've ever had that party.
Everything in any who linger are
Earliest you've
twisted
had
by
what?
the curse. They become shadow beings.
That's the
You could
earliest I've
go
ever had
over
that
them.
party.
Oh, yeah.
Long ago.
Well, normally I save it for way later.
I'll wager it will reveal a more direct
I usually fight through
path
the
to
goblin
Moonrise
silly
Towers.
really quickly.
And maybe even bypass the worst of the shadow curse. Anything is... I've long sought to return to Maysel.
Do you not...
Okay, cool. Let me just respec Lazel real quick.
Quickly then.
What are you gonna make her?
I'll let my intuition guide me. We have someone who can cast
I shall be
damage
here
spells.
in my camp.
We should have some kind of
Whenever thou
support
hast
character,
need of
probably.
my servant, should thou or any of thy compatriots,
Gonna go cleric?
because it is my... As thou...
No, I go to cleric too often. I think druid would be kind of funny.
Okay.
Because then they can benefit
I've
from
never...
our... You've never what?
I've never seen Druid Lazel.
Paladin is also an option that would kind of fit what we need right now. But I think
yeah.
Druid gives us more utility.
Fair enough.
We can have guidance as well, which will help us a lot with conversation stuff. Okay. Abilities. Druids use wisdom to cast spells. Cool. We'll give her a lot more strength. Because then she can be frontliner. +2 to wisdom. Cool. 14, 14, 14 with 16. Athletics, nature, animal handling, intimidation. She does not need intimidation. She gets it for being a Githyanki. Okay. Perception. Okay. Cool. A druid. I'll level up real quick.
No problem. Take your time.
Circle of the Land, which is kind of druid. Circle of the Land. We get cantrip, wild shape, certain beast forms. Circle of the Moon. Circle of Spores. Let's do Moon. Yeah. Prepare spells. Ice Knife is good. Thunder Wave we don't really need. Fairy Fire is a really good concentration. Good berries. Kind of like offense, so let's just get Fog Cloud. Long Strider is super good. Can all run faster. She will have one heal spell, but mostly offense. Level 3. 2 more spells. She gets Gift Yankee benefits. Lesser Restoration, cure them from a disease, blindness, or poison. Do we have protection from poison? Oh my god, he was just mentioning that.
Huzzah.
We got it. Moonbeam. Flame Blade. Oh, she can also do Flaming Sphere. Spike Growth, oh my god. Some of the best spells in the game. Heat Metal is also very good. Okay. She needs some tier 1 spells though. Actually, yeah, one tier 1 spell. Yeah, I think this gives us a lot of good stuff.
Ooh.
One cantrip. Produce flame just for some more light in the shadow crap. And then we want to give her a Warcaster so she can concentrate on stuff. Cool. Alright. Moselle is now a druid.
Looking
Excellent.
ahead.
So do you have to change her armor?
No, actually, because she has proficiency from being a Githyanki.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And we give her a versatile weapon, so she can swap
Moving
around.
ahead.
Okay, so I'm next to you. So there's
It's
some
right over
secret
here.
Let's see
goblins.
what this does.
I've never
See it?
been over here. Yeah.
Stone door.
Never been here. There are goblins in here?
So be careful. There's a trap up ahead. Stop, stop, stop.
Fire in the
Wait,
I smell a
get
trap.
back.
Oh, it's gonna shoot
That's
us.
just going to keep shooting you. You got to get back.
Okay.
Okay, so the way to do this is you just hide.
If everyone else minds their business, I'll be fine.
Also, I'm stealing that barrel. Like, so what you do, you see this glowing blue thing here?
Mm-hmm.
You just touch that, and it turns it off.
Ah.
So there's a couple more, but there's nowhere. None of them are immediately ahead. Oh shit, they're gone. Oh, I guess you have to do this before you do the goblin encampment.
Yeah, maybe.
So you see this dead guy down here, Findal.
Hmm.
So when you, if you do this before the goblin encampment, he's still alive and they're holding him, and you can actually fight to release him.
Huh.
And then he goes back to the grove.
This thing is trapped and heavily locked. Okay, we got it. There's some barrels of oil here. I don't know if you want those. Chance to
yes.
snare the target if it's not a plant or a beast. Huh. That's pretty good.
I will gladly steal these.
Appropriate.
Just the one. Yeah.
He's not stealing them. He's appropriating them.
There you go.
Oh, more thieves' tools. Good. Can you just shoot these runes to turn them off with a ranged weapon?
That's a good question. I don't think so. Try it.
No, didn't work.
No. Okay. Well, if you want, you can cast Speak with the Dead on this guy.
Can't slow down. This calls for careful footwork. What's in
All
here?
right, so there's a buried chest over here. Jump up here, and then you have to hide. Because they've got another one of these sentry things up here that'll shoot you otherwise.
Huh.
Like it's doing now. But it can't get me. Because I'm just out of range.
Nice. Well played.
So I'm sending you an elixir of fire resistance. And a whole bunch of other ingredients. And 22 gold. So now I'm going to go down here. And I'm going to touch the tablet to turn this thing off, and then I'm going to loot the dead body.
Cool. Well played.
There we go. And there's a key. I'll send that to you.
Are we
So there's
winning?
two.
Mm-hmm.
Are we winning?
Yeah. I would say we're winning. So far, anyway.
Oh, we're not dead yet, anyway. So let's see. This path up here, that actually goes to the library where Nellie is. It's like the inner sanctum of the grove. But I don't think... I mean, there's not much point in going there now since they already gave us everything.
Yeah.
And then there's another sentry up here. So you can click the tablet and that'll turn it off. There you go.
Have to keep going. Never wanted the easy path.
No, we don't
I
need to
don't
sneak
remember.
anymore.
Here
I
we
don't
go.
remember what's on the other side of this.
A stone door.
All right.
The prison.
Oh, did we ever cure that woman of the paralysis?
I don't know.
It's this way.
I don't like the look of that mushroom.
Be very careful, though. They've got exploding plants over here. Stand by. There's two more.
They're in that.
Yeah. Back a little bit. Let's see. There we go. I think that's the last one.
What's inside?
Ouch.
Yeah, she was in here.
Did she leave, though?
Storeroom.
Did she leave? Because
No, she's paralyzed.
Oh.
She was paralyzed, and you can cure her, and then, I don't know, you get like a bonus and maybe a mood improvement with some of the other companions. But I guess since we did the encampment, that's over.
What path lies before me?
I don't think there's anybody
chest.
around.
A pantry chest.
Open up.
Oh, there's an alchemist's cabinet. Ah. Drow poison, basic poison, simple toxin. Oh.
If not over, then through.
Yep, just super normal stuff. Walking around. Okay, cool.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to detour too much like that. I thought there would be goblins.
No, you're good. That's a good area for me to learn if I'm doing a new playthrough when I go there. Cool. Well, I think let's fast travel to Blighted Village, so next time we run, so we could go beat up the hag or something, because we're pretty strong now, I think. We have Wolf Barbarian with Karlach, which is going to give all our melee advantage on stuff. And then because Druid can just be in animal form a lot of the time, then she can also be melee for most of the fight and just pop out for key spells if needed. I think Polar Bear is one of the ones you get for being a Moon Druid. Yeah. As a level 4 you can be this, it's really strong. 39 health. Can goad enemies to attack it, so this can kind of be like a tank. It's 39 HP before aid. Sweet.
Let's get going.
Well, hell yeah. Thanks, Agent Smith, for doing some world discussion to some Fey run discussion.
Light on my feet.
You're looking much more fresh and colorful than last time.
Thank you for carrying.
We have a strong team.
And the secret is sea green dye.
Yep. All we need to do is find a snow climate, and half of our party is invisible. The polar bear in the scratch. Okay, I'll save our game here. We are all alive and accounted for in our honor mode run. Well played, Swami Sriki. GG. Chat, as always, if you have any...
to do here?
No, I think we're at a good stopping point. We got a party member respect. We sold stuff. I think we're about ready to kick ass and stuff. GG.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure.
We will see you on the next episode of World Discussion with Agent Smith.